Yeah. Well, I was saying that I see why it's a problem because you're viewing the you're viewing it as location dependent rather than where the viewer is observing from.
It is location dependent. I mean, he's a dude who gets shit wrong, but this guy's getting a lot of shit wrong for being such a big science communicator.
Oh, for sure. It doesn't take a genius to figure out flat Earth, or something's wrong with the globe. Or maybe it does.
Anchovie, did you hear my thing with bacon the other night? You were like, "Oh, I see why this is always a problem when we talk to you about this."
The reference frames, yeah. Well, I was saying that I see why it's a problem because you're viewing it as location dependent rather than where the viewer is observing from.
It is location dependent. Let me tell you why bacon's merry-go-round example was wrong. You have the guy on the merry-go-round, right? He's just sitting there. He's at a location. And then if you start spinning it, yeah, you could freeze frame at a spot where he's at that exact location again, but now you have no movement because you had to freeze frame to get him at that same location. It is a location, bro. I promise you. I'm not the one who's confused here.
Nope. I'm not saying it's not location dependent, but I'm saying the other side of the coin is where you're viewing the location from.
Yeah, the location that you're at. Yes, we know. You have a location and you're viewing motion from that location. Yes. Bro, I promise you, I'm not the one who's confused about this. Bacon's analogy didn't work at all because in order to get that guy to the same spot, you had to freeze frame and then you would have no motion when he's at that location. And we're talking about the laws of motion with no motion. So it doesn't even make Bacon's example is literally didn't even make sense.
Well, I think I get what you're saying, but I think we're like arguing past each other a little bit because we're not talking about what's happening at the location. I think we're arguing about what the frame is, and the frame is wherever the person is viewing it from.
The location where they're viewing it from. Yes, it'll be a location.
No, I can view a location at the location, or I can view a location.
It's the location where you're viewing it from, bro. You can't be viewing something and not be at a location viewing the stuff. I guess not hard, right? If you're gonna view shit, you got to be at a location to view stuff from, right? That's not really crazy. But these guys are all, you and Bacon and whoever was trying to say like it's not a location. It's like, bro, you if you're gonna observe motion, you need to be at a location somewhere. It is a location. The non-inertial frame. Go ahead.
I think you're missing what I'm trying to say though.
What are you saying?
What we're arguing about is the frame itself, not that the location is changing or that we're not looking at the same location. We're saying the frame itself is the other half of it is observer dependent. So I can view a location, right? I can view a location from within that location, or I can view a location from outside that location. Do you agree with that?
And those would be, yeah, and those are two different locations you'd be at. Yes. You got two different guys at two different locations. One of them is where Newton's laws don't apply. And one of them it does.
Okay, yeah. We're on the same page then.
Yeah, but these guys are trying to say it's not a locate. Like, I don't know if you missed it last night. You saw what, do you understand the thing Bacon did was not even,
yeah,
was not right?
Because I think me and Bacon had the same misunderstanding of what you're saying, which is, I think what he's thinking is When you say the location, we're talking about the location being observed, not the location where the two observers are.
My initial statement was you can be at a location in the heliocentric model and Newton's laws don't apply. These guys were all
Correct.
got all up in a tizzy and said, no, no, no. Come to find out that at the end, you could have been at a location on Earth where Newton's
Mhm.
laws don't apply. And Bacon's merry-go-round thing does not work because, like I told you, he had to stop you have to get the guy in the same spot when the merry-go-round wasn't spinning. If that's the case, you have to like freeze frame and there's no motion. And we're talking about the laws of motion. So like his whole shit didn't even make sense trying to debunk the location thing.
Well, I think, yeah, I think we were getting confused on what you were saying because I get what you're saying now. Um, it doesn't do anything to say what you're saying is correct. But my question is, what's the point of saying that if an observer in another location could look at that same location and it doesn't apply?
Because that's that's a location where Newton's laws do apply. I didn't say everywhere in the universe Newton's laws don't apply. I just said you can be at a location in your heliocentric model where Newton's laws don't apply. And I gave a location.
I mean, the
And everyone
location we're
tried to
looking at.
fight. I'm talking about the location. You can be, listen to me, you can be at a location where Newton's laws don't apply. So if you're standing on Earth,
Mm.
Newton's laws don't apply there. If you're standing somewhere else, like the guy looking at Earth, Newton's laws apply there. For that location, Newton's laws apply. For the location of the guy on Earth, Newton's laws don't apply.
I mean, what you're saying is technically true. It just, I don't see the point of um, getting into it if both apply to the same location. I don't know if that
What?
makes sense to you, but
If Newton's laws can apply to Earth and not apply to Earth at the same time, like if you have both guys, I hear you. If you have both people, one guy's Newton's laws don't apply for, another guy it does.
right,
The reason is
at the
because they're
same
at
place.
different, yeah, at the same place. But the reason is you're at a different location. You know what I'm saying? They're at a different, like
Huh.
the guy on Earth is
Oh,
at a different location than the guy not on Earth. And for him, Newton's laws don't apply. That's all I was trying to say. Like everyone agreed with me in the end. So I don't know. Bro, there's mad places Newton's laws don't apply. That was just the beginning of it.
yeah,
Everywhere you drop something, anywhere you drop something, if you go to any of your planets on the heliocentric model and drop something, Newton's laws don't apply to that. You got mass accelerating, there's no force. So like literally everywhere, every orbit, every time there's an orbit, every time something falls, Newton's laws don't apply. Black holes, Newton's law don't apply. That's wild. You guys just ran Newton over
um,
right with the bus. What's up?
That's so true, eh?
Like, bro, people always say, like, oh, Newton's laws, they work here on Earth. They don't work here on Earth. Like, I don't know why people said that for years, but they literally don't work here on Earth. Because of the thing we just said about the reference frame thing. And then you've also got every time you drop something and our movement around the sun. And anytime, like, it's just so many ways you guys have Newton's laws of motion not working, not applicable. Not you, but those guys.
yeah, I'm just trying to think of another way I could explain this to you because it's not that I'm disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to understand the purpose of pointing it out when both apply from the same location. Like I maybe we're thinking about it a different way.
I don't know, bro. I was talking about Newton's. I don't even know how we got to that, but I was just talking about there's places you can go where Newton's laws don't apply.
Right, but
And
you can
people were
also go
like,
to
oh
those
my
same
God,
places where
no.
they don't.
No, you can't. You can't. Bacon's merry-go-round example doesn't work. And I told you why twice. You can't go to the same place and they do work. If you go to the same place, they're either going to work or not work. You can be looking at the same place, but the place you're at, it's either going to work or not. Like if you're on Earth and we're rotating in a heliocentric model, they don't work. If you're looking at Earth from an inertial frame, yeah, they work. Great. But you're in two different places, though. Those are two different locations. You can't be in the same location and it works and doesn't work. You just can't. You can't be. The thing Bacon tried to pull last night, that was slick. That was slick, but it's just not. It just doesn't make any sense because you have to freeze frame. And like I said, we're talking about laws of motion when there's no motion. So it's pointless. Yo, this ain't my fault, bro. These guys made a mess of physics. Pseudo physics, I like to call it. Right? I didn't do this shit.
No,
Physics
it's
isn't math. Physics isn't
Um,
math.
you said the inertial frame being Earth rotating. Why is that in your mind? Is that always an inertial frame?
No, the Earth rotating would be the non-inertial frame.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you said the opposite.
No, you could either view it from Earth in a non-inertial frame if we're in your model, in the heliocentric model. They see it spin, they're spinning. You got Coriolis effect. Newton's laws don't apply. And then you could go somewhere else and at a different location. Like you can't be standing on Earth and Newton's laws apply. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't be standing right next to that guy and be like, oh no, they apply here or some shit. Like you could be spinning on a merry like Bacon. The thing Bacon tried to do was slick. I got to give it to him. That's why he's up there with the Globers. But he tried to reverse it and act like you could get at the North Pole and then spin it the exact opposite rate and like negate the whole thing and have Newton's laws not working, but you wouldn't be in the same location. Like you'd be moving locations. You have to be moving to do that. You know what I'm saying? You can't be in the
Um,
same location as the guy who's not spinning around on the merry-go-round because that guy's not moving.
yeah, that's why I was trying to explain to him when he brought that up that for when we're talking about these things, this is why science they're able to treat things as such, right? And I try to explain to him that when we're treating it as something, that doesn't mean that's what's happening. So for for
Bro, he agreed with that the other day and then disagreed with you last night on it. I was like, I thought he was going to agree with you when you said that, but then he disagreed with you.
right, yeah, that I was surprised too because
Like
in
a week ago, he agreed with that. He's like, that doesn't mean that's what's actually happening. I was like, oh shit, Bacon, look at you. But go ahead, sorry.
yeah, no, it's just like, well, if the Earth's rotating on its axis and orbiting, um, any frame fixed to the surface of Earth, right? We understand that that's the non-inertial frame, but in practice, there are times where they treat it as inertial because the effects are minimal. So to say that just because they treat it as inertial sometimes, that doesn't mean that changes anything that's happening in reality. Like the rotation and the orbital acceleration, they're negligible to the point where day-to-day physics, they can actually treat things as inertial.
Oh yeah, if me and you tossed a ball, that's why saying Newton's laws of motion don't apply on Earth is crazy because you can toss a ball, it goes in an arc. You know what I'm saying? Like no one's checking Coriolis over tossing a ball. But if you're doing a ballistic shot or a sniper, they say you do got to account for it, so that's where it wouldn't apply.
Yeah, long range ballistics and like macro scale weather stuff is where they say that they have to do that.
The thing is, though, his laws break down everywhere if you just drop something. You got mass accelerating. You need a force. You know what I'm saying? Einstein said there was no force. Whether there is or isn't a force is one thing. Maybe there is, and we're just not measuring it or can't measure it or something. But if it's Einstein and there's no force there, then you can't have F equals ma right here on Earth. You need a force. Like it's not about the math. It's about what's happening. Like physics, is physics more about the math or is it more about what's happening in physical reality? Which one's more important?
I feel like they go hand in hand in their paradigm, right? If you
You
can't
know,
math it out, then it doesn't work for them.
you don't. You feel like it'd be more important. You saying it's equally as important for the math as what's happening in physical reality?
Yeah, I would say that anyone in mainstream would need to, whatever they observe, they would need something mathematical to show that happening. Otherwise, they would say, I mean, I don't know what they would say. They wouldn't be able to make a claim. They might have a theory, but no math, they can't really say anything about it.
I mean, bro, that's such a materialist. I hear you. That's such a materialistic way to think about things. Because how do you quantify like I don't know. Love is a real thing, right? Like that's some real shit, or is that just all
It's
just
real.
made up?
Um,
I feel
Gotta
like
well,
be
if
it's
real.
real. I know. I feel
you
like
ask
it's
a
like real.
materialist, they would say there's some kind of physical reaction internally, right? So,
So how do we measure? So how do you? What's the math for love? They
well,
probably have math. You saying they got some math on it for whatever's going on? I don't know. It's tough,
Yeah.
bro.
What's the
probably not
formula?
math yet.
What's the formula for giving up your life for your enemy? Someone who wants to kill you. You giving up your life. You love them so much. Even the person trying to kill you. What's the formula for that?
Well, I think they would say the thing is we haven't figured out. I think all of this cross ties with like consciousness and stuff like that, which is a science that nobody knows what the fuck's going on. But I think they would say, hopefully in the future, that they aim to figure out how all that works, and they would be able to quantify. Okay, your body's releasing this much chemicals, and it's affecting this part of your biology, and that's what leads to this feeling.
They could put some math to love.
I I would think that in their minds that hypothetically that would be possible if they could
But then
figure
how
out.
much?
Yeah.
How much though? Because you could love someone. You know what I'm saying? Love someone someone more than another person or something, or is all love equal?
Um,
The highest
uh,
version of love. Yeah. Is
Like
there like
I
one
love
version
my
of love?
best. I love my best friend. That's my boy, but I don't love him like I love my wife. You know what I'm saying? So I don't feel like they're not all equal.
well, it's multi-layered. You have other values that cross on top of that love. So if you happen to be someone, if you're straight, well, that love may never cross a boundary with another man, right? But if you're gay, well, all of a sudden now that love is like how you love your wife. I feel like there's a bunch of other overlapping factors that affect how
But
you
then
think
that
about
guy would
someone.
have a. But then that guy would have like a girl that's a friend who he loves, but not like that. It's the same situation. It only works if you're bi.
Um, yeah, I mean it's unique to each person. What you value from someone will affect how you love them.
We'll put some math to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking there's a flat Earth formula. F equals. We just gotta add the variables like gravity times
No,
time.
it's zero. It's zero. The formula is 0 inches per mile squared.
You all right?
That's the formula. Yeah, 0 inches per mile squared.
Well, I do think it's such a multi-layered thing to talk about. There's the people who you ever heard like you have to work at love or relationships, right? It's not always going to be nice and sweet, but there's certain moments, relationships with people where you have to choose how you're going to act with them and actually work at that. So um, I don't know, depending how you want to look at that. Um, it's
I
up to the
feel like
person,
you
I
just
guess.
gotta. I feel like you just gotta be you. You know what I'm saying? Just be you. That's
Yeah, but
all.
part of being you is that it's not always going to be right. Well, unless you consider all the negative um, emotions as part of love, then maybe. But um, you know, people act out, people get mad, people get jealous, people get angry. Uh, Depending how you look at it, some people say that's out of love, some people say that's not out of love.
Yeah, I also want to see the angry formula,
Yeah,
the hate formula.
it's a bunch of sixes.
Then I feel like the loved one's gonna have 273 in it.
2 for sure.
That's the dopest number out, right? You guys all know about 273. At this point, I've said it like 100 times.
Well, let's hear it. I don't think I've had the pleasure.
You never heard it?
No, I don't think so.
Come
Sorry.
on, bro. Where you been?
I'm new.
This is your first day? All right. If you take a square, I always get this one mixed up. I don't know if it's a square inside a circle or a circle and a square. Either way, the empty space in between them. You know what I'm saying? If you make the corners touch the edge of the circle or the circle touch the sides of the square, either one. I'm not saying it works for either one. I'm saying one of them, the empty space in the middle that one of them doesn't cover, but the other one does, is 27.3% of the space. So there's a 270. That's rock solid right there. That
Interesting.
273.
Thank you.
There's more. There's more. Hold on. There's more though. There's way more. This ain't over. There's like 4 pages of these, bro. It's crazy. If you go from a vernal equinox to, if you go from like if you go from a solstice to an equinox, one of them is 273 days. There's another 273. The freezing point, absolute zero is 2.73 Kelvin. The freezing point of water, though, is, what is it? There's another one. I can't remember them all. I'd have to bring the list up. It's so many of them now.
We got 7 days a week. So 7's pretty interesting.
I'm telling you, this
Well, if
270.
you
Got it.
my personal opinion, numerology is a little weird to me when people put weight in numbers because, especially with measurements, because we decide the unit of measurement, right? So in my mind, it's completely arbitrary. So like you saying, there's 7 days a week, right? Well, we kind of just set that. Well, I mean, maybe unless you have like biblical beliefs, but any kind of measurement, a unit of measurement, a single unit, we determine what that is. It's not like
Yeah, like the absolute zero thing, we came up with that 2.73 number somehow. But I'm just saying, it's like, it's crazy how that number just pops out all the time. I'm not trying to say like it's probably like the code that governs our shit, kind of like the Fibonacci sequence. You know what I'm saying? There's like
Yep. Yep.
underlying like code that just runs this place.
Yeah, it's like repeats. Yeah, in different areas within the code, you can see it. So there's 2 for God and
I hear
Jesus.
you. But I feel like that's
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm in a bad area.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Anchovie. I was just gonna say maybe if we break it down. Okay, 2 for God and Jesus, and then 3 for God, Jesus, and you, and 7. I don't know. Maybe it's just a special number as well. Oh, yeah. 7 in the commandment is about the heart. Thou shalt not commit adultery. And we all know how love is like it's like this metaphysical thing that pretty much impacts the world. So like right, men have fought in wars over women supposedly over love. So
Right. Yeah. It gets kind of jumbled in my head though when when people like this pattern recognition with math. Um, like I said, we set what the numbers mean to us and what everything is, how everything's measured by a unit. So I don't know, maybe something about the way we made up numbers. Um, certain things are bound to repeat like that.
yes, have you heard the theory that someone analyzed the Old Testament and the way it's written, every certain number of letters would be a certain letter, and then you do that over time, and then it spells out Yahweh like over and over and over. And they were saying some people speculate there's no way humans could have like done that. It's like beyond
Well,
like some. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, look at all the complex. I don't know the right. They have a specific name, like cryptology, right? Where you can write a certain code, like Yahweh, into a bunch of different ways that somebody could decipher it. Um, so
Okay.
I could definitely see it being possible. It's just a matter of if you believe that that was intentional.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So if humans do it, maybe God could do it. Yeah. Humans have used. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Humans have used words, letters to encode. Also, like you're right. Hidden messages. Great point.
Yeah, so you'll write out like a certain paragraph. I think some of the Epstein victims did this in the recent files, where when you look at it, it looks like just a bunch of random letters or words. But then if you figure out the code, quote unquote, of what they're saying, you could actually pick out how they're writing out the message within that jumble of letters.
Definitely. Thank you.
I'm sure there's usually like a specific name for every type of uh, you know puzzle or however they whatever they call it. But maybe
Yeah.
the Bible is one of those where they specifically tried to, on this letter or this word, they tried to use a certain letter or word that would come out to spell that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Either they did it knowingly or unknowingly. I guess that's the mystery. It's going to be hard to find out for sure. I mean, we could guess. Probability would probably say it's likely man-made, just on probability. But some people, I think they did the math. I wish I could have reiterated verbatim what these people were trying to relay. It was like one of those videos where it seemed really technical. They were like, not only that, this one does this, and then it's like, I wasn't able to absorb it all, unfortunately.
Sko. Why do you call yourself Sko? SKO 0562. Are you there, sir? Sko? I think he's away from the mic. He stepped away. I can. If he's there, I can't hear him.
He's locked in. It's crunch time.
I was just asking why does he call himself Sko? I get really confused with these names, man. This is my real name, Manny. So I use my real name, but mostly I feel like 90% of people here don't use their real name, so I get confused. You know what I mean?
We're talking about Osco.
Oh, is it Osco?
Well, his Discord name is Osco, but his actual name is well, you know how you have the Discord name and then like the nickname or whatever. It's Osco.
Yeah. What? I'm like tripped out from looking at his avatar. What the hell is that? It looks like an atlas to me. Do you know what that is? Is that him or is that like an something else?
I don't know. It looks like a guy with a heart on his back, like a backpack.
Yeah, like an atlas, kind of like an atlas carrying a glob. You know what I mean? Running it looks. It kind of reminds me of me. That's what I'm asking because it kind of reminds me when I go running in the trail. Anyway,
Anchovie, did you get the DM? Oh, sorry, the notification?
Oh yeah, I see it. Thanks.
Okay. You're welcome. I don't know. That might be just one of a few. But that was, yeah, I think that might have been the one I found. Or rather came across.
LeftLane is back. Is that your? Is that why do you have a plane as an avatar? Is that the small plane you use to chemtrail us? That's my hangar. That's your hangar? Yeah. You're a pilot?
Yeah, he hangs
Have
his
you-
clothes on the wings.
Yeah, that's what I'm envisioning. Is that where you hang your clothes to dry after you hand wash them?
I, I think they would probably interfere with the flight characteristics. Look at that.
You're a pilot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when you're up there, have you seen the curb yet?
Not from that plane, but I have in the commercial.
No, you cannot. But why do they tell us you can't see the curve from an? I can't see the curve when I go in a commercial plane. What curve are you seeing? Are
I
you
think
looking
it'll be
out from a window that's kind of distorted and kind of makes it look
no,
like it's a blob?
no, it's our bias. I think that would kind of lend to our perception of what we're looking at. But you can put a straight edge on it, and it certainly is curved.
Okay, I would. No, I don't think so. Have you ever gone over the sun? Have you ever flown over the sun? Have you seen those pilots that have?
No, I've seen the images. People talk about it, but yeah,
I played ice hockey with a Southwest pilot, and he showed me a picture of when he was going over the sun. What do you think
Talking
of that?
directly over, or
He was
he
directly
sees
going
his
over,
elevation.
like he was going over the clouds, and under the clouds was the sun. It was like it looked like it was big fire. but it was the sun.
So, I mean, do you literally believe that?
Nah, I don't literally believe that. I'm just testing you out, seeing what I want to hear your side.
Okay.
But I do believe that we the sun is nearer though, so it's possible because I've done sun gazing, plenty of sun gazing, and I mean more than your average Joe. I defied what the the taboo to not look at the sun because you will go blind. I still have 20/20 vision, so um, I what I saw was a white light at times and a circle and uh, left definitely a localized light. I didn't see something that was 93 million miles away that burned my eyes and left me blind. So yeah, I definitely would not be convinced that the sun is 93 million miles away and bigger than
I
the
mean,
Earth.
that mean that you formed that opinion based on your just looking at it? You could tell
My
how far away.
observations, my observations, my personal observations, and um, what do you think? What makes you believe it's 93 million miles away? If you've already looked at it, I mean, what I can't see why anyone would believe if they're not told by their teachers that it's 93 million miles away. I can't see how anyone can come with. Okay, let me just ask this: how would you come to the conclusion that it's 93 million miles away if no one ever taught you anything and you just looked at it? How would you go about why would you what would make you think, oh, it's 93 million miles away if you've never gone that far? What would make you think it's that far?
Okay, first, I wouldn't put a number on it, but I'm talking about observing it rise, move across the sky throughout the day and set, never change size, right? But and then you've drawn that half a circle. Now you need to complete that circle and guess where the sun is at midnight. So that's one part of that. The fact it didn't change size, where seasons work and things like that. It just all concurs in my mind.
What yeah, but how far would you think it was? Like I said before, if no one ever told you anything, no one ever just brainwashed you, in other words, or what conclusion would you come with? Like if somebody asked you, oh, look at the sun, how far is it?
Only that it's far enough away that it doesn't appear to change size through the day. Just it has to be a significant distance away. I wouldn't have ever guessed 93 million. You know, maybe some number of tens or hundreds of thousands, something guess. But I would just through observation, I wouldn't have any way of telling how far away it is.
Right. So why do you accept that it's 93 million miles away and not an astronomical unit? Why do you accept that?
Well, the methods that are involved in measuring it,
What was that? What was your response? I missed it.
the methods that are involved in measuring it.
Do you accept that as as a fact?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say that's legit.
Okay. Well, I guess I guess I'm different. I don't accept that.
No, like that's okay. I mean, it's certainly not a requirement of anyone to, feel or believe the same thing other people do.
It's just interesting that you say you're a pilot and you should be able to tell how close the sun is from flying up there. Do you ever see the sun when you're up there? I'm sure you do.
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe you missed that part. I wouldn't
Oh yeah,
just
I missed
based on
that
my
part. I
observations.
totally
I
did.
wouldn't.
Can you repeat that? If I missed it, can you repeat it? My bad.
I said I wouldn't guess the distance just based on my observation.
Oh yeah, no. You said that already. But what I'm saying is, when you're up there, when you're flying, so I guess that includes that as well. That would be your observation as well. Part of your observations is you're up there with flying your little plane, and you see the sun, but I don't think you're sun gazing when you're up there flying your plane. To be honest with you, I don't think you're looking at the sun.
No,
Are
I
you
try
doing that?
not to. Yeah, I
Yeah,
try
see,
not to.
because
I got to
you're not
fix my
supposed to be
gauges
looking
and
at it
instruments.
when you're flying and or driving. You're supposed to be looking at it. The best times to be looking at it is during sunset and sunrise. But you could also look at it when it's at its peak. If you're grounded, it's better to have your feet grounded, and you can still. I've looked at the sun when it's at its brightest and highest, and nothing has ever happened to me. I have 20/20 vision, like I was saying, and um yeah, that was it. I just wanted to know why you had a small plane, and I guess you're a pilot, and two things. The sun is 93 million miles away, but you would not think that had school not teach you that, right? Had the Neil deGrasse and the other guys not taught you that it's 93 million miles away, you never would have guessed it, like you said. So I get it. All right. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
It must be fun though being a pilot, left lane. Why
It's extremely fun.
why do you call yourself left lane?
Also, truck driver. I spend a lot of time in the left lane because I'm going faster than everybody else.
I figured that was the case. Fast lane, you're on the fast lane. That's what you mean by left lane. You're in the fast lane. So,
Yes, sir.
it sounds like that's the reason why I have 2 points on my license, and I'm paying nearly $600 for premium for my monthly premium thing. It ain't cool.
I
You
thought
have any points? Huh?
truckers are usually in the right side.
I'm not a trucker. I'm
No,
I'm
left
I'm
lane.
not, I'm not a trucker, but yeah,
I'm talking
it
about
sucks.
left lane.
Oh, sorry. Hey, left lane,
Yeah,
we're
I don't
talking
live
to
over.
you.
Yeah, I don't just drive in the left lane. I'm in the right lane as long as there's nothing in front of me.
Yeah, I was saying I thought isn't it usually the opposite? If there's traffic, you're in the slow lanes because you're I don't know. Maybe I have it backwards.
Have you gone around the world, left lane? All around the world. No, I'm just kidding. Left lane, have you gone around the world yet? Can't hear you.
No,
Not yet?
just across the country, United States.
Okay. Is that something you would like to do or not really?
No, I don't.
You have no desire in doing it. Gotcha,
Not
gotcha.
in that aircraft.
How
I don't.
many
No, I wouldn't. No,
how
I
many
really
miles
don't.
have
I don't
you
have a desire to fly around the world.
Yeah, I get it. You don't have the will or the desire to do it. It's fine. Not everyone likes going around the world. Um how many miles have you flown, would you estimate?
I don't have any miles. I've got like, close to 500 hours.
You don't go by miles? Is that what you're saying? You go by
Yeah.
hours. Close to 500 hours, not bad. You're kind of roboting, I'm not so sure why I mean. Interesting. There's somebody who think the sun is that far away. Sounds like somebody who was having fun with the math. Some mathematicians were having fun. Anyway. Hey, LeftLane, do those small planes use petrol? Do they have a petrol tank? Or how do they fly?
It's just gasoline.
Just petrol? How many gallons does it fit?
I carry
Or how many
40 gallons.
40 gallons. Huh. And how much does 1 gallon give you per mile? Per mile per gallon. MPG.
Burn about a little less than 8 gallons an hour.
8? Okay, I get it. So it takes 8 gallons per hour of flying?
Yeah,
Huh. Interesting. And it fits 40
but
gallons.
that equates to something like 25 miles to the gallon if you count the speed and everything.
What do you think of that? Do you think they can make planes that are more efficient?
I don't know. The innovation is always going on with aircraft, and they've come up with some new engines that are on the, ready to be approved and testing. Some diesel powered. There's a small turbine engine that would fit my aircraft, and that's brand new. I don't think there's a Cessna 172 that's got a turbine on it, but now they do have a turbine engine that'll fit on it that's in testing.
Uh, okay, didn't know none of this. Never even think about planes in that way, in that sense, for one reason or another. I guess I've never been a big fan of them, but kudos to you for being able to fly a little plane like that. And do you do your own mechanical work on it, or does somebody else do work?
You have to be licensed to work on them by law.
You
It is, the law states it's got to be an A&P certified mechanic.
Okay, so you just kind of let somebody else take care of the maintenance.
Well, I still do it some, but if it's something that has to be documented, I have to get an A&P to do it.
That's what's up. How much do those guys make? The air mechanics or whatever what do you call them again?
Yeah, A&P,
ANV.
just an airplane mechanic. But I'm not
Oh,
sure. Probably in the neighborhood of probably a couple of $100 an hour.
that's not that bad. Um, but do you have to deal with asbestos and stuff like that, chemicals and stuff like that?
No,
Okay, that's not that bad. Not bad at all. Huh. Interesting, because I knew a mechanic. I remember this Italian guy who lived in his RV to save money, but he was an air mechanic, and he lived in a RV. and he would park his RV outside of elementary school, one of the elementary schools that I grew up next to and used to play soccer at. But that's not how I met him. I met him through drinking coffee in the morning at a cafe, and he was one of those guys, and I kind of knew a few other guys. So I think at the time they weren't making that much. I don't think. I think it was 50 or 75, but I guess it went up now to 100. Because the cost of living has gone up everywhere, right? Has the cost of living gone up where you're at?
Oh yeah, it's gone up everywhere.
Well, how much is it over there? What state are you in?
Tennessee primarily.
Okay, you're in the state of the music. What do you call that? The country music,
Yeah,
the
Music City,
capital.
Nashville.
Yeah, music. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Music City. Yeah. Is that what they call it?
Yep. I call it
I've never
Crashville
been there.
because of traffic.
Oh, there's a lot of traffic and crashes.
Nashville in the last 5 years has more than doubled its size.
Wow, I didn't know that. How many? Oh, so what's the population right now in Nashville? Few million?
Maybe I would be scared to guess. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and I mean, it's growing like crazy. And they're putting up skyscrapers. The entire skyline of Nashville is completely different than it was, 5 or 6 years ago.
Hmm. What do you think of that? The skyscrapers uh, taking over the skyline in Nashville.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it.
You don't know yet. I get it. It's too early to get it. You kind of have mixed some feelings about it, perhaps.
I know
Uh,
they've built they've had the stadium, for the Titans football team, pro football, and then they built another complex right next to it. It's under construction. There's they've added Nashville to the Indy race car circuit. They closed the city down, the streets, and they've got the like Indy 500 type cars come there down once a year. There's a lot of things going on in Nashville that I would never have thought.
yeah, because when I think of Nashville, I think about country music and people who like country music and maybe perhaps like Johnny Cash. I don't even know if Johnny Cash hung out there, but maybe he did. Did he?
Oh yeah, it was around sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
there's
so
like the stage is one of the little bars on Broadway, and a couple of others where they would frequent, and the songwriters would hang out. And yeah, I've met a few of them.
what's one of your favorite, one of your favorite songs that he had? That one guy that I just mentioned.
Uh, my favorite one that he's done is
Johnny Cash. I almost forgot his
yeah,
name.
but
Having
it
so
was
much fun, I forgot his name.
oh shit,
Temporary.
I can't think of the
Must be the
song.
better was ahead.
It was a grunge song that I can't remember who wrote it, but it was a remake.
What's the name of
Ah,
that song
shit.
where he talks about falling into a ring of fire? Went down, 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 and the flames went high. Remember that song?
Yeah,
Huh?
the Ring of Fire.
Oh yeah, that's one of my first songs that he has. Anyway, that's about as much as I know about Nashville, I guess. I don't know much. And then, of course, I used to play ice hockey, so I know about the Nashville Predators. And I think there's a who do you know about hockey or no?
Nope. I never was into football much or sports at all. Even the country music. I was always rock and roll, and then grunge hit. I was a big grunge fan.
Okay. Interesting that you're not a sports fan. Hey, it's fine. I mean, you're probably better off without them because as an athlete, you're going to have to face some injuries and they injuries suck. But anyway, what else is in Nashville? So the skyline's gone. It's different. Skyscrapers have taken over, uh, and it's growing. And you don't know what to think of it. So there's that. 40 gallons for the tank, or you can carry 40 gallons when the tank is full, right? You said.
Yeah, yeah, nice recap.
Shit, it's not something I think about in the day. I guess I learned some today, a little bit. Learned a little bit about Nashville today. You're in Tennessee though, right? Not Nashville?
Yeah, I'm in West Tennessee.
West Tennessee, yeah. And what else is what is Tennessee known for the most?
Well, that's it. Music City. Now, Memphis, Bill Street in Memphis is pretty big for blues. I mean, it's yeah. I don't know. I would say depends on what genre you're into. Memphis and Bill Street would probably be more significant than Nashville.
Okay. So I hope one day you realize that the sun ain't 93 million miles away when you're up there. I have a feeling you already know, but that it's not 93 million miles away, but you just don't want to accept it for one reason or another.
Well, I don't know. Most of these convos about the shape of the earth and things don't matter that much. You know, life goes on, right?
That's true. But when somebody asks me what it is, I'm gonna be honest with them and say it's not a globe. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, well, it's a globe. The sun is 93 million miles away. Yeah, the galaxy this, the galaxy that, and whatever name they name other galaxies. There is another galaxy nearby. What's the closest galaxy to us according to your motto? Left lane,
Yeah,
double L,
Andromeda.
Andromeda. That's the name. I almost remembered it. There you go. What does that name even mean? Have you looked that name up?
I don't know. I wonder if there's anybody there, and I wonder what they call it.
See, that's what they want you to think. That's the way they want you to think, or us to think. They want us to think that do other galaxies, other do exist, right? But and they can exist, but they're not galaxies. There are different realms. That's what they're trying to tell you by a galaxy being other galaxies. It's another realm. We're in a realm, and when they say different galaxy, they mean different realm. But they keep the masses dumbed down. They say galaxy, and then they make you go into fantasy world. But anyway, just had that little download that I know, been knowing, but I somehow sometimes have to repeat it to those that may or may not know about it. So what do you think of what I just said, Left Lane?
No, dude, it's fine. It's a contrast. You know, you got your normies, and I guess I would be classified as a normie, sort of. I'm a little bit more open minded than that, but yeah, I think about Andromeda. I want to know. It's like there has to be life elsewhere, as massive and vast as the universe is. We could see the other galaxies, or you want to call realms. That's fine. But it's fascinating to me to think about that there is other civilized beings of some sort out there, and fascinating to think about what they might be, how they might live, what they might think.
Yeah, it is. Other realms. It's something that uh you know that is real, but we often don't talk too much about it for you know, whatever reason that may be.
What's that?
The different realms or galaxies, Andromeda. I asked you what the name Andromeda means, but you've never looked it up, right?
No, yeah, I've never looked at who named it or why they call it that.
Let's look it up real quick because I forgot. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the name Andromeda originates from ancient Greek. Who would have thought that? Greek. I thought it was Latin. Did you know it was Greek? Left
No,
lane?
I didn't. No, I didn't know how
So,
far it goes
so
back. You know, they,
originates
yeah.
originates from ancient Greek, translating to ruler of men or mindful of a man. It is primarily known through classical mythology, astronomy, and nature. So, ruler of man. There we go. That was the answer we were looking for.
Are mindful of man. That sounds sort of
Andromeda.
like
Andromeda. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Were you trying to say something, Left Lane?
oh, it's that whoever named it. It sounds maybe like they were thinking along the same lines that I think, and you know, wondering about the people there, right?
Huh. Well, that's that what you believe?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's just a thought, you know.
Okay, because I don't ever think about Andromeda in that way. I believe Andromeda is made up. They're just telling you, or they might be telling you about a different realm, like our realm here.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
it might
you
be.
can
I'm
look
not.
at
It
it.
might be. It might be a realm within our realm. What was that?
You can look at it though. I mean, you can see it up there, right?
Can you
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
with Lucifer's telescope? I guess, or a good
yeah, yeah.
telescope. You have a good telescope.
I used to have one. I don't have it anymore.
What's the best telescope you've ever, you know, seen through?
It was just a 6 inch. I think they call it a Newtonian. There's a reflector type scope. It's like a 6 inch barrel, and it had a reflector in the bottom of it. Came back up to the eyepiece.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't looked into telescopes in a long time, man. But yeah, I guess have you seen Andromeda? Andromeda?
No, no. See, that's one thing I gave it to my little brother-in-law. He was kind of fascinated, but I didn't have the patience to sit there on the stool and turn those knobs to chase the planet. I mean, I like looking at them, but yeah, I wouldn't. You know, it didn't have any motors. It didn't have an EQ mount. It's all manual, and you had to chase everything you looked at.
Ah, it kind of bored you. You were like, man, this is too. That's not my style, man. I ain't dealing with this. Was that the attitude you had?
No, you go down to creek bank, drink a beer.
Oh yeah, you went down to the creek to have a beer. What kind of beer was that? Did you have an ale?
At Budweiser.
Ah, you like them buds, the original Budweiser. or is it the Coors? I mean, I almost said Coors Light, the Bud Light.
No, just I was drinking beer when the
I used
pull
to drink
tab. You,
Budweiser.
you you would have to put your pull tab down in the can when you pulled it out.
Oh, you went to the canning? You said. I'm sorry, I was talking over you.
No, I was drinking Budweiser when the tab pulled off. You had to pull your tab off and stick it in the can so you didn't litter.
Oh, what year was that?
Shit, 1970, 76, 75, 76, somewhere in that area.
Damn, that's what's up, man. OG pilot, having a beer by the river. What were you doing at the river?
Yeah,
If you don't
he's a
mind me
OG.
asking.
If OG stands for old guy,
Oh God, river rat.
it's just an old guy. Isn't that dangerous though? If you put the tab in the can and now you're drinking the can,
You had to be careful.
you're just sitting there being careful, getting wasted. It's crazy. That is actually crazy. People didn't do that though. Like you guys were just throwing them shits on the ground. Did you put them in
You
your
throw it on the
pocket?
ground. You throw it on the ground at the creek bank, and people barefooted. It's like a damn knife laying on the ground.
Yeah, that could be sharp. What about your pocket or something? Then you reach in your pocket and cut your hand all up. Yeah, they were sharp, right? Sharp at the sharp edge.
Times were different back when men were real men.
I'm saying you swallow one of those, that's the last thing you want to fucking do.
I mean, you just burp it back up and have a laugh about it. Chew it up, swallow it
You gotta
again.
throw up immediately if you swallow. I don't even know if that's safe. That might not even be safe, dude. Oh.
Well, from the view that they're not going to space and that's not even a thing, don't you think that they would know, the ones lying about it, that they would know like that there's a ticking, a bit of a time clock as to when the masses are going to be like, okay, what is going on? Now they are feeding people like the whole, they just claim they flew around the moon. They got like Katy Perry. They're going to keep kind of sprinkling that stuff, I suppose, to where maybe that gives people a little,
Well, you can
when
do
they're all
that.
told that they're don't have the money to do it and only this, the rich can do it. That's like the narrative. But wouldn't they know that there's a time limit on that as to how long they can stretch that out?
Oh.
What'd you say, LeftLane?
Yeah, it is expensive, but I mean, you could go on the Blue Origin. They're booking flights on it right now, but it is extremely expensive. And if they did have this hotel in space, I wouldn't. I mean, I make pretty damn good money. I don't think I would spend the money to go up there as much as it would be. But I mean, I'm not like holding them to a standard such that I'm going to be pissed off if it doesn't happen before I die, you know?
But Gio, you've heard me grill these guys. Some of them said it could go 10,000 years. They still wouldn't be suspicious. But I mean, beyond all the hotels and shit, you would want to spread humanity out in case the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs comes back for us, right? And like I said, also you could fund this with mining. There's tons of precious mineral. I mean, in your guys' paradigm, everything in the universe is out there, right? Like your whole universe is basically out there compared to the stuff we have on Earth. It's all out there for you guys. So we got to get out there. All right. But
Sure
that's where
we
you
do,
guys
man.
think all this. That's where you guys think where all the stuff's at. Like everything in your whole universe is basically out there.
Yeah. I think if it, like I've always said, I think if it was real, they would have had a ton of stuff going already on the moon at the least. I mean, they claim they took
Immediately.
those rovers there. Yeah, they claim they took those rovers there, drove them around for a few hours, and just left them there collecting moon dust, and that's it. Spent millions and millions of dollars. If that was real, like with human ingenuity and what we do as humans, we would have been going back every year in the 70s, setting up at least some telescopes, equipment, more little cars, at least a couple buildings. actually check the whole place out, do a little digging. There's a whole bunch of stuff they would have been doing if it was real. Because I mean, they got there fairly easily. When I say that, like, and technically, like, nobody died. I guess they had that Apollo 13 thing, but
Yeah,
even just going off the narrative they give, like they went there with really primitive technology compared to what they have now, and now they
but
can't even do it again.
we wasn't going there because we wanted to set up bases and all that stuff. We was going there because we wanted to outdo the Russians. As soon as we outdid the Russians and the Russians basically went bankrupt, we stopped. We was like, all right, that's enough spending that ludicrous amount of money. Let's spend this money on something different. That's all it was about. It was just a dick measuring contest between two countries. Once that contest was over, it was it. Wrap it up.
So who convinced you of that?
That's just
Because it's
exactly
supposed
what
to be
happened.
science. It's supposed to be NASA. It's supposed to be science. It's not supposed to be about measuring your
No,
member.
going to the moon was never about science.
So NASA's not about science.
I didn't say NASA wasn't about science. I said going to the moon was never about science. Going to the moon was simply two countries in a race to outdo each other. Now, like low Earth orbit, ISS, shit like all that was scientifically driven. The moon race in the 60s was politically driven.
So who convinced you of that? Propaganda?
No, this is
Because
the
if men actually
truth.
went to the moon, there would be a million reasons to have things there, like a base, a telescope, equipment, make sure women can give birth there, have, try to experiment with growing food. There would be to spend the millions of dollars just for some kind of egotistical battle against another country. Like you're
I can
accepting
name
of that.
I can
I mean, I think the
I can
propaganda is the only thing that planted that in one's mind, I would say.
no,
It
because
wasn't.
I can name a million things right here on Earth that we should be doing to make humanity better that we're not doing at all. So to say that we should be doing stuff on the moon, no, it's not how reality works.
In the 60s, the threat of communism is what drove the whatever the space race is what they called it, right? It was the threat of communism because they'd already got their first satellite, they got the first man in orbit, they got all these different things. And so then it became, okay, who's going to get first to the moon? And America didn't want to be seen to be losing to the Russians again. It was just, the propaganda was there, but the propaganda was that the Russians were winning the propaganda war. And they were showing the might of the Russian, technology and determined spirit, if you know what I mean. And that was demoralizing to the Americans, because don't forget, we're not far from the Cold War.
Yeah, the
And
American
Cuban Missile Crisis and all that.
the American military is who created NASA. NASA was created by basically the United States Army and Air Force.
Yeah.
Because when they launched Sputnik, the public might have been given this whole thing that Sputnik was this new space exploration, era that we was coming into. The military saw it for what it was. It was an ICBM rocket that showed the capability to put something in orbit over all of our heads. So they was like, hold on a minute. They're literally now capable of putting a bomb right down in the center of the White House if they're able to put something in orbit. We need to be able to do that. So that's the whole point, to start NASA and figure all that out. And then it just simply became, okay, how can we keep outdoing each other all the way to the moon? And they,
That's essentially what it was.
yeah,
If you think of people,
Real quick. You would definitely put a military base on the moon. If this was a military operation, the number one rule since the beginning of time is get to high ground. Right? There is no higher ground than the moon. There's the highest ground for you guys,
you
right?
can do the same thing for low Earth orbit though, much cheaper.
that's not. It's orbit. So in the
Orbit's
60s,
higher than the moon.
the scary thing about the Russians doing all these firsts, beating the Americans, was it was very disquieting for the people of the United States to realize that the Russians had the ability to send something around the world that could fly over American airspace out of sight of them, and that was very, very scary. So yeah, that's what it was about. I don't know if it was about ego between the two presidents at the time, although I may be wrong, but that's essentially what it was. Because I mean, that was not too far removed from the era that I remember. And I remember people talking about it being very frightening to realize Russia could send something right over their heads. That's the first time they'd ever thought of that. The first time anyone had ever thought that was possible. Never considered it before. It's way before. This is before satellites that we take for granted now. So, but the high ground is orbit. It's not you don't get an advantage by being, if you send a rocket up or whatever it is up 200 miles, you can already then just bomb anyone from any distance anywhere in the world. If you go 400 miles, that doesn't give you an advantage. There's no advantage to being twice as high.
It's a disadvantage. It costs more money. It's a disadvantage because it costs more money to do so.
I mean, I suppose so. But I get the idea. What's higher than the moon? Yeah, put a moon base. And that, I think currently is I think that's the new space race.
I have a question.
Get a moon base first.
If y'all are right, like y'all are the smart ones, right? Y'all got it all figured out. Y'all know why we went to the moon. It was just to beat the Russians. Why did we go back 5 more times?
Just because we built up an entire infrastructure to support going to the moon, so we had enough. We kept it going for a couple of years.
Let's say it one more time so everybody can read.
Yeah,
Let's say it one more time out loud, so every human being that's listening right now can understand that we went to beat the Russians, and we went back 5 more times because we already had the infrastructure.
Yeah, Gio, we kept going back to beat the Russians until basically we saw that the Russians weren't competition. They basically went broke, and we immediately said, "All right, that's it."
So, okay, it's an interesting question, and the reason I find it interesting is because we just heard a few minutes ago that we weren't going back enough. So we're not going back enough, and we went back too many times. at the same time, it's phrased it like
the one about
I know.
has to do with like if humanity actually discovered something new and they actually did tread on new ground, they just gave up on the whole thing. Like they literally left the moon rover. Like humans allegedly drove cars, like a Jeep framed like thing, allegedly on another surface. At that time, it was a whole brand new thing that they'd never done, and then they literally just gave up on it, let the things collect dust, and gave up on the whole venture. So that's an argument based on that. The thing about going multiple times is that if the story that someone's told someone else to believe that the fighting with the Russians or whatever is some space race thing. Rocky is bring up the point, if they were just trying to beat them to the moon, why did they go back multiple more times and spend millions of dollars? Why did they go back multiple more times and spend millions of dollars? So those are two different.
We didn't give up on going back. What happened was we hadn't developed the technology to live long term in space. At the time we was going to the moon, 14 days was about as long as anybody had ever spent straight in space. We hadn't developed any long-term living capabilities yet. That was the entire point of the ISS and the space shuttle. That's why they did that. They needed to develop those technologies to live long term. And to do so, it was much safer to do it in low Earth orbit where you could return back to the ground if you need to or whatever than it was to try to learn all those technologies as far away as the moon and as difficult as the moon. But the problem is, let me say this real quick. I'll try to make it fast. The problem is, though, governments change and presidents change and people in White House change and things move on. And that's exactly what happened. As time went on, wars happened, things happened. The stock market had several collapses throughout the years and stuff like that. And it just, times changed and we never went back, mostly due to money reasons.
I think people forget that NASA is entirely driven politically. It's politically driven. So if you have a change of administrations, you have a change in priorities, and they can change on a dime. You can have all the best intentions all in the world, but you've got to put the stuff to a vote, and Congress gets to vote on whether or not they're going to do stuff. And each one of those congressmen have motivations of their own to either support or not those things. It's not like it's just the will of one guy as it is with SpaceX and the will of one guy as it is with Blue Origin. It's not. It's very politically driven.
And it's also, if Kennedy had never gotten shot, we may have never made it to the moon. It was a lot of historians think that it had a lot to do with him getting shot and the knee-jerk shock reaction of the United States public being like, oh my God, I can't believe you just shot the president. We just like after 9/11, for several years after that, everybody was like so pro United States and everything was the United States, flags everywhere and everything. And after Kennedy got shot, it was like that. Everybody was like, okay, he was the one who wanted to go to the moon. Now he's dead. He got shot. So we really need to try to get this done in his name. There's like a lot of that type mentality went on for years after he got shot. And that drove NASA onward in accomplishing what they wanted to succeed in. Where if he hadn't got shot, it might have fizzled out.
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing I want to actually add is that a percentage of the budget that the moon missions was very, very high. Now it's very, very low. So you've got other things that they're spending money on. They're spending money on telescopes and a lot of other different things. So the money is spread a lot thinner. The other thing I want to say is about going back places is we've been back to the Mars. So how many rovers are on Mars? There's like six or seven or eight rovers on Mars, and they're still planning on sending more. So I mean, I
just hope they pick Matt Damon up from Mars. I feel like he's been there for a while now.
They've been there too long.
Rovers on Mars, and they're still planning on sending more. So I mean, I don't know.
I just hope they pick Matt Damon up from Mars. I feel like he's been there for a while now.
They've been there too long.
He's been too long there.
That would be the first thing you would do. That would be the first thing you would do in the space scenario, knowing what we know about dinosaurs and asteroids. You'd immediately set up shop on another thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I would think
around that. There's just no way around that logic. Yeah, it would absolutely be what you would do.
I don't understand that way. I don't understand
hold on,
that.
real quick, Cole. Also, if it was a military thing, you would get the high ground. There's no higher
That
ground than the moon. Orbit is not higher than the moon.
that
Yeah,
makes
that
no
would have been
sense
the
to
whole.
say there's no way.
I answered that.
That makes no sense. There's no way to say there's no way to get around that logic because literally we have a surplus of food in the United States, and right across the ocean we got people starving, and we barely send a spitting of the food that we throw away over to them, and it's here on Earth. We have problems everywhere that you would think, well, the first thing that we would do is this, that, the other. But humans, that's not how humans act. Humans see problems, and yet they don't fix problems. They just
No,
continue
I
to
would
do their crazy lives and the things they do. You know.
Cole, that's a good point, and I would say that's not what humans do. That's what governments do.
Well,
Right. So
okay,
all
that's a
y'all
good
put
point.
Here,
your
here.
faith and everything into government, looking to them like they're the gods. And what do? They destroy surpluses of food and allow other people to starve while they go put rovers on Mars for no fucking apparent reason. But
No,
still, you
actually,
guys
that's
still
untrue
support them,
because
and you still
America
look to them
supports.
as though they are the beacons of the best parts of humanity, and then claim when their pitfalls are not advantageous to humanity that it's quote unquote human nature. But then you guys still
Look
vote
at
for them to get into office,
yeah.
and you still support them, and you still think that that's the best way we need to operate.
Look at how much money the American government gives to other nations. Go look. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm in my garage. Go look and see how much money America spends on foreign aid.
I'm in my garage as well, and most of it
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
to
it's a
Israel for
lot.
political reasons.
It,
Yeah,
it is a lot.
it all goes for political reasons to their other governmental friends. It's not for humanitarian aid.
Yeah, it is a lot, but we
Don't
know
get it
that
twisted.
we know that giving money and stuff like that is some of the worst things you can do. If you set up ways to, if you sent them farming tools and farming implements and tractors, and you set up schools to teach farmers how to irrigate. If you've done all these things to teach people how to farm instead of just giving them money and stuff that gets squandered and embezzled and taken and used by governments to buy missiles and shit like that, we know that that's the truth. Yet people, just like you said, governments still don't do that. So there are things
Exactly.
that as a society people understand to be the truth, but yet it still doesn't get done. And that's
But
really
Yeah,
God,
that's why you got people like Red Cloud that are like, look at how much money the United States is giving to other countries as though it's like some humanitarian aid. And it just comes
there it
back to the
goes.
very adage of like, teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. And that's all we're doing for political ends and for votes for people like Red Cloud to think like, oh, we just give
Why are
these
you
governments
throwing it at
more
Red
power
Cloud?
to give more money to more people.
He
Somehow
doesn't
that's
know
being
that I'm.
advantageous when it's not actually doing anything of the sort. It's
And then
all
we got
for
people like
political reasons
Napalm.
and all for
Here it
political
comes.
ends. And that's the reason why space race happened. All of the things are happening in space, right? It's all for political clout. It has nothing to do with the actual advancement of humans in general, right? We have people starving throughout the world, but somehow we're putting rover number 7 on Mars. Like,
I know what you
what are
mean,
we
Red
even
Cloud.
doing here? What are we doing here?
There are less people starving now than in the past. If you remember the Live Aid, you won't remember that because you're too young. But they had Live Aid. Remember that? So
Yeah, I do remember Live Aid,
they don't
and
need
no,
to
I'm
do
not
Live
too
Aid
young.
anymore.
I'm probably older than you are. So great
No, that's
assumption there.
highly doubtful.
Are you in your 50s? Are you in your
Nope.
50s, Red Cloud?
Nope. No, I'm not. I'm the oldest guy in here, probably except for Cole.
No,
How old are you?
you're not older than me.
No, I'm not older than you. Let's do it. Let's
How
do a
old
thing.
are you?
Cole first. How old are you?
You're
Cole.
all older than me,
I'm
so I
too
win.
old.
Too old. You won't say?
I'm
How old are you,
63.
Red Cloud?
I'm old enough. I'm not in my 60s. Put it that way. Not
Napalm,
yet,
how old are
How
you?
anyway.
old are you? Red Cloud, how old are you when you're claiming people
62.
are just. You're 62? You said you weren't in your 60s.
No, Cole said that. No, who? No, someone else said that. I didn't say that. I'm 62. I
No,
was
it
born
was
in
me.
1963.
Okay, cool.
1963. So
Cool. I was born in 1980, so big
there you
deal.
go, you young whippersnapper.
I'm older than you, Napalm.
Kids today.
So what does that mean? Like I remember Live Aid. It was in
Okay,
my
good. I was just
lifetime.
being. I was trying to use it as a little snipe. It didn't work. It fell flat.
No,
I
it didn't.
apologize.
It did. It really did.
What was I going to say? Yes, you're also unaware that I'm British and I can't vote in America. So, I can't vote
So
here.
who cares? Who
Hey,
cares?
buddy, your
Like,
country's
why
going
are
to
we going to
shit.
the moon now?
Did anybody claim that you could vote here? No. But
No, it's just saying that so people
support
like
our
Red
government?
Cloud.
Yeah, who cares about where you can vote? Why are we going to the moon now? If we didn't go for science back then, are we going for science now? Or
Yep,
are we just
going.
going to waste money?
Going now for science and advancement of humanity.
But back
For the
then
moon,
we
for the
weren't.
moon base, then is what it
We
is.
weren't building the rockets and all that for science. We were building it just to beat the Russians. But now we're going to put rovers. We got 8 rovers on the moon. Really?
Something like that,
No
yeah.
cameras. No
Exploration
live
of
streams
space
from
has
the
been
moon
happening
from these
since
rovers going around. You know how
yeah,
cool that would be.
exploration of space has been happening since the 60s. So what has been the net positive advancement for the human race since we've been dumping trillions of dollars into it since the 60s? What is
I can
the
answer that.
advantage here?
I can
Go
answer
for it.
that. There's a whole long list
Bang,
of inventions that have came
bang,
out of this space race, and
Name
also,
the top
Velcro.
one.
and hold on a minute, and also, every government that starts up a space industry like NASA sees a net positive to their return on their investment from it. Literally, it boosts the economy. Every country that starts a space agency sees a boost to their economy, so it makes money,
It's
doesn't lose
it's
money.
a good point. It's a good point.
Correlation is not
But
causation. So India got into the space race. So you're saying that India's increase in their economic value is because of their space exploration, or is it because
one of
of
them,
the
I'm
outsourcing of jobs from the United States to India?
I'm
yeah.
saying them creating a space agency uh, gave a boost to their economy.
No. That's correlation. That's not causation. Can you draw me a direct causation from the space race, their exploration of space, to their increase in economic value, or
Yes,
is it
yes.
yeah?
It's very
Lay it out for
simple.
me.
It's
Give
very
me the
Counter
simple.
roadmap.
It employs millions of people. It has several. There's always contracts involved. Contracts require corporations. Corporations have factories. Factories are full of people. People build the stuff. It
So
boosts
you're telling me a broken window fallacy?
it boosts the educational value in their country,
Nope.
because all of a sudden you have people that's wanting to get into that new area in their country, the new space thing
May I
that's going on
respond to
in their
that when
country.
when he's done?
Yeah,
So you have
that's a
a
broken window
boost to
fallacy.
the education. Dude, shut up. And
May I respond to him
contrary
though?
question,
Like
Cole,
I want to
is
actually no,
has it
not
ever been
you,
shown?
no, not you. I was asking Napalm if I could respond to him,
Yeah, you
but
can respond, but it's a broken window fallacy, and he probably doesn't even know what
of
that means.
course
But go
it
ahead.
A
is.
contrary question was
okay.
has it
Hey,
ever?
no,
Can you
please be
show that
quiet,
the
guy. It was definitely not your turn at all, whatsoever. So to respond to Cole and what he said, redistribution of wealth is not boosting the economy. You don't get any economic surplus by redistributing money to basically quote unquote workers. Now, if they're working on something that actively, creates good things for the
Yeah, that's
economy,
just
like
dumb.
constructing houses, please be quiet while I give you
Well,
the answer to what you. Okay, so
stop
you're
saying
now you're
bringing
declaring
high
yourself
level
a fool
jobs
because
into a
you
country,
won't listen to the
not
retort.
boosting the
You
country.
are now entering the area of being a fool because you're not
we
listening.
got the angry
You're
ones
you're
today,
not listen.
Cole?
You're not listening to the criticisms of what you're saying. So please try to be quiet. Don't be foolish, and maybe you'll become a little wiser.
Stop saying foolish
Please
stuff.
be quiet and let me make my point. It would have already be finished
No,
if you
you're
Let,
weren't
not
cutting
old
me.
enough to be in this conversation.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to
ages.
restate what I said earlier while these guys troll me and act in bad faith.
Yeah,
So
can everyone just let Noah finish? I mean, Cole, you went on for quite a bit, and people were trying to get in, but nobody really interrupted you. Is there a reason that Noah can't get through his thing now? Go ahead,
Yes,
Noah.
Is
Just
because
there
go
a
he's
ahead.
reason why
strong.
he's so
Yes,
angry?
because he's straw manning me. So I called it out.
All right.
thanks,
Well,
Gio. Am I able to make my point in full so then he can determine if it's a straw man or not because he didn't even listen to it at all?
okay.
Uh,
I don't know. Either you have to
Thank
let
you.
him interrupt and clarify, and then go back to your point, or just he has to wait until you're finished and then
Well, my
respond.
point would have been done by now, but people are being very childish despite, bragging about their age. So, taking money from the government and giving it to people to work on things, i.e., redistributing wealth, does not actually increase your country economically. If it did, communist countries would automatically be the wealthiest countries, which they're not. They're always the most destitute of countries.
For you to actually boost wealth, the people you gave money to would have to actually produce something economically, i.e., an industry, some sort of product, some sort of service, plumbing, technology, IT, etc. The average person's wealth is not boosted by a rocket going to space and $1 billion being spent on it. I could agree,
What about they
though.
make more money to buy things?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Do,
that's
do
just
you guys?
it's economics 101.
that's redistribution of wealth. It doesn't. It's not actually efficient. No, yeah, giving people
Economics.
money for
Hold on.
doing.
Yeah, hold
All
on
right, I'm
just
just gonna
for a
bow. I'm just
second,
gonna
Noah.
bow. Thanks for giving me that at least that amount of time.
Yeah, no, just for a second, right? When they claim it's economics 101, so can anybody explain to me the economics of Frederick Bastiat? Are you familiar with him? You guys are econ majors, right? You guys know all about economics.
No, it's
Anybody
just
heard of
basic.
Frederick Bastiat?
Land.
That's not to say we know everything about economics. It's a very
It's
simple understanding
yeah.
When you have
But you guys know
you employ a bunch of people
jobs,
that didn't have a job and make spend more money.
and not
it's it's
just to
called
say
a
that
it's
they
it's
didn't have
called
a
the
job, you're employing them in high level jobs that make quite a bit more money than they made normally or the surrounding people make. It is an
no,
absolute boon to your economy. Boom to your
it's a
economy.
boon. It's a boon, not a boom, but a boon. It's a boondoggle, right? Because if you understood actual economics and if you ever read Frederick Bastiat, you would understand the broken window fallacy, where it claims that, well,
It's
if
a
you break a
fallacy.
window, if you
Yeah,
break a
no, that's not.
window, that means that the glazer will have a job, meaning money will flow into the economy for him to fix the window, thus economic exchange is taking place. But the problem is it's not advantageous for everybody to go around breaking windows so that money can exchange hands throughout the economy, because
That
you're
is
actually doing a disservice to the economy because you're not actually adding value, even though you might be employing more glazers that would go fix windows. It's not actually advantageous for the economy as a whole to just have these make work programs. We could employ 1,000 people tomorrow if we decide we want to dig ditches and then hire other people to fill them back in and constantly do that over and over again. Economically, you would have money exchanging hands, but it's not advantageous, right?
this
So you
that's
guys
not
don't
analogous at
understand
all.
basic economics.
This
You don't understand economics 101, where even
after
though
that
money might
rant,
be
you don't
exchanging
understand
hands,
economics,
it's
bud.
it's not moving. Oh, I don't understand economics. You don't even know
No,
who
No.
you
Frederick
don't.
He's
Bastiat
over there
is?
breaking windows.
Do you know who Ludwig van Mises is? Do you know who Murray Rothbard is? Do you know who any of these people are?
Appeal to
No.
authority fallacy.
Yeah,
It's not
really.
an authority.
Appeal to
It's
authority fallacy.
literally
It's a fallacy.
who
Hold
are
on.
these
Shut
Let,
up,
people
let,
that
dude.
don't
let,
know
Go
their
let
sit
me
in the
economic
interject
corner.
theory?
there. Hold on. Let me interject. Okay, a fallacy was called. I'll do like a little courtroom thing for a second here. So, an appealing to authority is when somebody is not only mentioning an authority, but they are saying that just because they're an authority, they're correct. Were you doing that, Napalm? Or were you just
Yes.
mentioning an authority? Because that's where the somebody called a fallacy. If it's valid, it could be valid, but he would have to be saying that just because they're authority, they're correct. Was Napalm? Were you doing that?
No, I was not appealing to an authority to make my reason. I was just
J-
asking when they brought up economics 101 if they even understood people that have economic thought or economic theory, right? I wasn't not trying to make my point saying, "Hey, I'm appealing to this person because they know
Of
better
course
than
you're
me."
not. Of course you're not.
Okay.
I was
You're a
just laying out
non-believer.
two
Why
Wait, let
would
him
you?
finish. Let him finish.
wow,
Take a
right.
breath
Like
so we
I
can
was just
answer
putting
you.
forth
Let him finish.
what's going on, man. Is
And of
everybody
course, Geo,
Yeah.
you would think
Because you
it's
guys
not
knocked
a
hold on, you
fallacy.
called it a fallacy. I jumped in to try to to see if it actually is. Because if it's an invalid fallacy, then that's invalid. So let him actually rebut it or give his point. Go
I,
ahead, Naval.
Yeah, I didn't appeal to an authority, meaning I didn't have knowledge on the subject. And I say, I don't know, and everybody else doesn't know. So therefore, these people, right? Like I wasn't doing that. I was asking the room if they understood the theories that were put forth by economists that have studied this, right? It's not an appeal to authority. It is, hey, do you understand their economic theory and how it's been disproven that if we just go ahead and find ways for people to like activate within the economy, that's somehow a net gain for the economics, which is a lot of these governmental programs where you just put people to work for the sake of putting people to
Yes.
work.
Let me
It's
respond to
not a net
this.
gain on the economy.
All right, but
Okay.
it sounds like
Okay.
that's
When
not
you
an appealing to authority fallacy, though. If he just
okay,
referenced an authority and said, "Hey, this is part of information that he's putting forth," that's different than actually saying, like, "Oh, because they're an authority, they're correct." That's not
okay.
his argument. So that's not an appealing to authority fallacy.
All
If we
right.
could
All right.
answer his core points, it
Okay.
would be great.
All right, Gio. I
If
understand that you
someone
think
was
that
allowed to answer his
non-Globers
point,
can commit fallacies, but I
if
digress.
only we're allowed
Uh,
to.
That's a straw man. I never
uh,
said only Globers could do
any,
anything. You called a fallacy, and we were
any.
going to try to test it if it's valid. If you have a rebuttal to say no, it isn't
I
appealing to
have one.
authority fallacy, you
I'm
can do
trying
that.
to rebut
Otherwise, you
what
would have
he
to say,
said.
"Okay,
That was
I
a
was wrong. It's
statement.
not a fallacy."
I would like to. That was a statement. I'd like to say comment on what he's talking about somehow hiring. If you hire a bunch of ditch diggers and then you pay it to fill it in, you're not really boosting the economy because you're not doing anything. That's not what you're doing. You're teaching people when you have a space agency and you have all the different contracts needed and all the different factories that go up and all the different people hired. These people have to be welders, they have to be electricians, they have to be metal fabricators. These are all jobs, and there's about 100 more of these type jobs that have to be taught. These people learn skills during these times when they're working at these factories. They learn skills. They make really good money. They spend that money in the local economy, boosting the economy. They carry on those skills later on. You have schools then that start to set up to teach people these different trades. Those schools go on to teach other people the same trades that don't necessarily go to work for the space agency that was set up a few years ago in that whatever particular country you want to talk about. But they teach those trades, and then those people will go on to work in that country doing other stuff, but yet they have those improved skills. It improves so many things just by having a space agency in a country that didn't previously have one. The boost on the economy is pretty tremendous at a place like India. It's not breaking windows and digging ditches.
No, it exactly is, right?
Did
Because what you're
Russia's
doing
did Russia's
is you're
economy get
taking
boosted? Did Russia's
you're
economy get boosted by the space agency?
Yes, it
yeah,
did for
exactly.
quite a while.
This is
That's
the
why they
problem
went
with
broke
government
themselves.
spending,
You
right?
said
No,
earlier
Is
they
it
went
they
broke.
went
literally
broke because of corruption. But yes,
You
they
said
saw
earlier they
a
went
big
broke to
boost.
bankrupt them.
Yes, because of
no
corruption.
this
But
and
they
this
To
is
did receive
bankrupt
they
them, the
did see
space
a
agency.
boost to their economy though.
It didn't
this is
boost
the
their economy.
problem.
You said it bankrupt them.
No,
This is the problem with government
I'll
spending.
say it
You
again. They
said that
went
earlier.
bankrupt
That was your
because of
word.
corruption.
Yeah, but that's
They
not what you said earlier. You
I
said it
didn't.
bankrupt them.
They did go bankrupt because of all the money that they were dumping into space race, but it's because they mishandled all of that money,
Okay.
Yeah,
not just
well
from having a space agency. The
you're
corruption
missing the
was
point.
enormous in Russia.
You're you're missing the point, Cole, right? Because the problem with government spending is that government only acquires money through coercion, right? Meaning it taxes people, it steals money from people and puts it into areas that they think are going to be advantageous, right? So you're saying that it's a net gain for the economy. So, what would have happened had the average person retained that money for themselves? So, the average person that gets stolen from, let's say it's 30% of their income goes to the government into a space agency. What is my return on my 30% of my income investing into the government? What is my gain from them spending it on a space agency? And you say, well, it's going to train people to have jobs, to do this, to do that, to do whatever. It's guiding the economy in a way that is not dictated by what is actually advantageous for the people that live in that society. It's being dictated from above. So it's money stolen, dictated from above, moved into areas that are quote unquote making jobs, but it's not a net gain for the economy.
You really don't know economics, bud.
No, that's. I would actually apply other principles that So the idea that government is all bad, not necessarily all bad. The government is a lot of bad, but it's not all bad. For example, the insistence that the American government had on the manufacturers of cars include airbags in their design was fought tooth and nail by the car manufacturers because it would have been expensive, and it was expensive. They also insisted on catalytic converters to clean up the air.
So
That was also done by the government. No car manufacturers voluntarily did it. That was mandated. The CAFE requirements, which is corporate average fuel economy, CAFE requirements, I think it was the 70s that was enacted. That was government. No car manufacturers were pushing until we had, of course, the oil spikes. Then they started making smaller cars, but they were making giant, great big, huge gas guzzlers until CAFE came along. So governments don't always do evil. Governments sometimes do good for the benefit of
But that's non
people.
sequitur. I never said that governments only do evil. It's non sequitur. I never said that governments only do evil. You're putting words
You
in
know
my
what?
mouth. That's completely
You know
non
what? If
sequitur
you're
to the
just going to nitpick
conversation.
every little
But when
thing
it
like
comes,
that, then
I'm
there's no
not just
point.
nitpicking. I'm just saying that you're building a straw man and you're trying to
That's just
fight
bad
it.
faith.
So I never said that, right? Did I? Okay, roll back the tape, and when you can clip me saying that governments are only evil, then I'll retract my statement. But that's non sequitur, and that's a straw man. So when the gentleman Cole said, or whatever, whoever, Red Cloud claims that I don't know economics, what economic field of thought do you adhere to, and who are the authorities, right? Who do you adhere to when you talk about economics? What's your interpretation of economic theory, Cole or Red Cloud?
I'm not
What
getting
school
into
of
any more
thought do you?
economics. You've done said enough that shows me you don't know nothing about economics. So I'm not
Oh, so
getting
it's
into
so is it
some
so is it
make
the
believe deep
Chicago
dive from
school?
you into economics when
Yeah,
you've
is
done
it the
shown that you
Chicago
don't know what you're
school?
talking about to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I can say, do you adhere to the Chicago School of Economics, Keynesian economics, Austrian economics? Do you even know who Frederick Bastiat is? Do you even know who any of these people are? You claim that I
You're
know
saying a
nothing
lot of
about
words, man.
economics, but I'm asking you who you look to for your economic knowledge.
And
So I pulled economics.
aren't you a
That's
professional in that field as well, Napalm?
Adjacent, but yeah.
can't be.
And of course, I'm not trying to. You've said it on the live stream, so I'm not trying to like reveal anything. But I'm just saying, for
Well,
him to say that.
can I ask a question? Are you frustrated because you're being taxed and you have no way to stop that because you don't vote? Is that it must be,
Have you have,
is that an
have you
annoyance?
stopped? Yeah, have you stopped beating your wife?
That's a fallacy, and that's not what I said. I said nothing about beating anybody. So
Yeah, and
it
I never said
is
that I was frustrated, right? So
okay.
where are you coming off with
It
claiming
sounds
that I'm
as
frustrated?
if it's a frustration because we were talking about spending on space, and you were talking about the evils of taxation, which wasn't, I mean,
How is space
on the
funded?
topic
How is space funded?
by governments
Via
taxation.
geez. So taxation is relevant to the conversation.
Not in that way. No, I don't think it is.
Oh,
You think it's
so
a
we
misappropriation
could
of the funds.
completely
That's
eliminate.
all.
So we can completely eliminate government's um, ability to tax, and we would still have space and the space race and all the money that you're talking about that gets spent. Like none of that comes from taxation.
If we had no government spending on space, there would still be space agencies. There are currently, I don't know how many there are. In America, I think it's about 5 or 6 or 7 space agencies that exist that aren't linked to the government or will have links to the government that aren't funded directly by the government. I cite Starlink, for example. So SpaceX exists, and one of the
Completely
main
subsidized by the
funding
government.
is through Starlink.
Fire
So
It's completely subsidized by the government. What are you talking about?
it's not subsidized by the government. Starlink is not subsidized by the government. That's
Okay.
purely driven by creating a market where it doesn't exist. And when you invest in technological fields, whether it's the government does it or it's private industry that does it, those investments grow. They don't just. It's not breaking a window and getting someone to fix the window. It's
Oh,
creating
so
markets and
who
it's
runs Starlink?
creating wealth where there wasn't previously any wealth.
Where did Starlink get their funding? Who runs that company?
SpaceX
By the
is
way,
privately run.
they are subsidized by the government. Starlink is, at least from what's claimed here.
100%.
The Federal Communications Commission gave them $885 million.
They would exist without the federal government.
885 million is a pittance. It's hardly anything. Could barely count as money.
Yeah, but you realize that Elon Musk only had the ability to start Starlink based on his governmental contracts through SpaceX, right?
That was in
Partly.
2020.
SpaceX is
Funny,
not
funny year for
100%
that.
subsidized by the government.
Starlink.
SpaceX is a private
It would
Nobody,
company
exist.
who
nobody
makes
said
its own
100%.
money. You said
Nobody said
would
100%.
Starlink's
exist.
IPO is about to drop any minute
You
now.
said 100%.
It
Who?
would exist
Me?
still. It just would be smaller without government input. You think it just wouldn't exist? It would be smaller without the government, and it would be, not as advanced as it is today. It would take a few more years, but it wouldn't not exist without the federal government. That's untrue. And
Yeah,
their
and I
IPO is
would
about
write
to
a
go like $1
unicorn
trillion,
if
right?
somebody gave one to me, right? But the problem is we have to deal with facts. And the fact is all of the funding that has been funneled into that is due to governmental contracts.
That's completely incorrect.
The government contract is not a subsidy. A subsidy. It's a
So I'll read
contract.
this here.
Microsoft is
I'll
funded
read this
partly
here.
by the government, right? Microsoft.
This,
That's those
yep.
government. They have government contracts, but Microsoft doesn't exist because of government contracts. They exist. They are larger
Non
because of
sequitur.
government. The company itself is larger because of government contracts.
That's
It's
debatable.
non sequitur. It's non
That's
sequitur
not a non
because
sequitur. It's an illustration. The
Elon
argument
Musk
is
has the
flawed.
ability to advance SpaceX into the realm of creating Starlink due to governmental contracts. Period.
I can repeat myself, but I don't think there's any need.
There is no need. I would agree with that.
I was just
Yeah,
going to read
because
this real
you're
quick.
wrong.
This is from ChatGPT. This is from ChatGPT. It says the U.S.
Wait a
military.
minute.
I'm speaking. Could I speak, please? This is from ChatGPT. It says the U.S. military and federal agencies buy Starlink services and terminals through contracts. Some state and local governments have subsidized Starlink equipment for rural residents. International governments have also funded or purchased Starlink access in emergencies or remote regions. So those are three ways that they do have.
So Starlink is bigger now because of governments. Yes, that's entirely true.
But
But the idea that they don't.
Almost $1 billion, at least, is what they claim in 2020. Fun year to do that. 885 million.
SpaceX does have government contracts. They do launch things for the government, but that's not their only source of income is government contracts. They launch a lot of private stuff into space. They launch a lot of things for universities and stuff. They launch a lot of things for television companies and internet companies. They launch private satellites. That's nothing to do with the government. That's them specifically having a company saying we offer this service and you can pay us to offer this service to you.
Right. So let's take
IPO.
one of those examples, right? So
No.
they're launching things. You claim they're launching things for universities. So where do universities typically get their money from?
Private donors for all the most richest universities.
So there's no governmental involvement in the universities?
Did I
There's
say there's
less
no
now with
government?
Trump.
But you asked me where most of the money comes from, and when it comes to the richest universities in the world, they're funded by private donors.
So what are the universities contributing to SpaceX that they are launching things for? Do we know
I'm
which
not sure what he's
universities they're
talking about.
launching things for?
I mean, I'm not sure what he's talking about. I mean, I think that universities, they'll do like rideshare CubeSats for universities,
That's what I'm
but that's a
talking about.
very small part of their business. The majority of their business is private sector all around the world. SpaceX launches something like 90% of the world's mass.
I want to know what does the government get out of funding universities? What does it get out of that?
A lot. First of all, it gets interest on student loans because most of the student loans in the United States are government backed. So it gets interest on student loans, and it gets a lot of money through taxation. So what do you mean there's no advantage there for government?
I asked the question. I didn't say you need to listen a bit more closely. I'm afraid. I asked the question. I didn't say that that's what's happening. I asked the question: what advantage, or what does it gain governments to fund universities?
Yeah, what aboutism?
Yeah.
That's my question. Not what
Well,
aboutism. There
there's
is an
many
advantage
different
to
things, right?
investing. So there's
There's
an
many
advantage to
different things
investing
that
in
you
things like
probably
universities
wouldn't
or space
comprehend that
travel.
the government has gained
It's a
advantage
cool
from
souffle fallacy.
via investing in universities, right? They can control the hearts and the minds of young individuals. They can implement certain, let's just say, thought processes throughout individuals. Most of the intellectuals that come out of universities are beholden to, if not bow down to, the government, right? So they control not only just an economic stake in universities, they control a, let's just say, a psychological aspect that is intangible that you guys can't obviously comprehend.
Right.
Oh, you got it,
And
but
both
we're
Did you go to
missing it.
university?
It's just you're just saying they're coming out brainwashed government bootlickers. That's not
Yeah,
true.
yeah. And you think
Yeah.
about
Did
this:
you go
most
to university,
universities are.
Napalm?
Government controls curriculum, right? So even when
Did,
I have taken classes that have nothing to do with any socioeconomic, like, um, policies or anything like that, woven into all of the examples and the test questions are certain things that lead you to understand, if you want to get the right answer, you adhere to certain, let's just say, psychological aspects to what universities do.
right.
So it's
And
Yeah,
since
subliminal
you laugh at
messaging
that.
through exam.
and
You laugh at that. When was the last time you took a college class, and do you understand what I'm saying?
well, did you go to college?
And
Did you go to
who are you
university?
asking that? Who are you asking that?
can I
If
connect?
you went to college and went to university, how come you're not damaged by this
I just, I
propaganda?
just
Jesus.
I just want to connect
It's
a
just
few of these dots
that's a
real
lousy
quick.
argument, man.
Because I have the
If
ability to reason, right? And I
so,
have from a very, very young age, right? And I've always had the ability to reason. Not everybody does have the ability to reason.
Hey,
So
but
they
let's look
take
at the
what an
current
authoritative
administration,
figure,
right?
let me finish what I'm saying. They take what an authoritative figure tells them as though it is factual, right? So when certain, currently DEI or certain other aspects to what the government wants you to think, believe, and be on top of is woven into classes that have absolutely nothing to do with those topics, but it's woven in the same way it's woven into the television programming that you take in. A lot of people think that there's no actual motive behind those certain things being added into it. Certain people can understand it. The vast majority do not. Probably you guys included.
so so since
Wow.
education, since a country sees a boost to its economy, you said it yourself, through an education, the education gives money, basically brings money back into the country. Then you have a space agency.
I never said that.
That space agency boosts the education in the country because all of a sudden you're having to teach people a lot more higher level jobs. You have to train people. So
Absolutely not.
that's
Never
a
said that.
very good reason how the space agency uh, boost the economy of a country through
Well, I
education.
never said
That's
that.
just one path, but that's a very good path that boosts the economy. There's several other
So
Nope.
paths too.
I never
let's
said
look
that.
at how it's doing.
Yes, you did.
College campuses, we can all agree, and they have been for a long time. They're pretty liberal for the most part, especially in certain fields, right? Maybe not so much in some of the.
Did he cut out or is it just me?
No,
I
he
don't
could have
know.
me too.
Yeah,
Just kind of
you lost.
imagining coal breaking moon rocks right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is those policies, right? Those understandings, the reason that the youth is shifted way and has been increasingly shifted way towards certain political ideologies is because it doesn't matter what you study in university. Trust me, I am currently even taking extended classes in university in a field that has nothing to do with anything that you would consider liberal. But like I said, when was the last time you took classes and realized how much those ideologies are woven into the curriculum that you take? And when it's compounded across every class that you take, regardless of the field that you go into, you start to think and understand that these things are truth when they're actually not, because it's coming from an authoritative figure and they are pushing specific ideologies especially on impressionable minds, which most people in university are fairly young. Not everybody is taking extra classes over above their undergrad and all things like that.
Do you think that your average uneducated worker has better critical thinking skills than your average person that went to university when it
Critical
comes to
thinking skills,
critical thinking?
I would say average, yes, because I think I grew up in a rural area, and I think a lot of rural people have way better critical thinking skills than people that have grown up in cities that are highly educated. Yes, I would say that
Would
the
you say
actual critical thinking, yes, I would say 100%.
okay? Would you say then? Do you think that the average criminal like if you're going to engage in criminal acts, do you think that is good critical thinking? If you choose, like, you're making a short-term gain for a long-term, decision, right? Would you say that committing a crime would show good critical thinking or poor critical thinking?
I think
It's
it's
different types of
critical
crime.
thinking agnostic. You can be a criminal and have good critical thinking skills. You can be a criminal and have zero critical thinking skills. I think it's
I would
It's
agnostic.
argue. I would argue that for the most part, even when it comes to the higher end white collar, like monetary crimes, uh, most of those people, they don't actually have an exit plan. Like there's like a few people getting pinched right now for some Ponzi schemes. That, to me, that shows poor critical thinking, right? Because you get a short-term gain, but there's no exit plan. In the end, you end up doing, giving up your life to to prison, right? I would say that that is not good critical thinking. I think you would find that most criminals don't exhibit good critical thinking. And if you look at the rate of college educated people in prison, it's incredibly, incredibly low. By and large, crimes are not committed by people that went to college.
I
I don't know why we're wrapping crime into this
What the
conversation because I
hell?
don't think that's relevant because I know a ton of extremely highly educated, very intelligent people that if something went wrong on their vehicle, they would have zero ability to critically think and troubleshoot it. So I don't think crime is like I don't even know why you're trying to draw some sort of correlation to that.
Critical
the
thinking doesn't make a mechanic.
I
okay.
didn't say
So
it makes the mechanic, but if you are proposed with a situation where you need to think critically about what needs to be done to rectify the situation, is that critical thinking? Yes or no?
I'm sorry, my wife
I
was
think
talking to me.
that would be more mechanical skills
Yeah, but
than critical
some people
thinking.
are
I
more
know
yeah.
lots
Some
of
people are
college
more adept
educated
at
people
mechanical skills.
that are incredible builders and cartooners. Like I'm like at least I used to be when I was younger. I was a huge part of the car community. I wrote a lot of technical articles, and the majority of the people that participated in those were college educated people that were doing all the technical articles, all the tuning guidelines and programming, standalone engine management systems and things like that. Most of those people were college educated.
The
The people that were
college-educated people are
designing,
designing and building the cars. So how about that?
I mean, this
Not
idea that, like,
necessarily.
oh, if you're college educated, like, if you get like you get like some garbage in your P trap, you're going to call the plumber. That is totally not the case. Like when it comes to like people that are very DIY oriented, I would be willing to bet that college educated people are more likely to be DIY oriented because they're going to take the time to learn a skill. Like I've learned a lot of skills like remodeling my own home that I did along the way. It's just something that you do when you feel confident in your ability to learn these things, right?
Yeah, but I think what we're talking about here is like it's correlation, right? Because I could come back to you and say some of the smartest people I've ever known in my life have zero college education. So it's you
Oh,
can't
I
put
don't
a
think that
metric on
IQ
that.
has to do with it. Like I'm somebody that always tested with a low IQ, but
Well,
but
some of the
I
highest
put in
IQ
effort to
people that I
learn.
know never went to college, and guess what? They could they could understand ohm loads on car stereos more than any college educated person would if they even tried,
That's
right? Like so, and
that's
it just came
that's just silly.
completely natural to them, right? How am I going to
What
troubleshoot this
Ohm's
in
law?
my
Like putting
vehicle
putting
or in my
putting two
house
8 ohm
or
speakers in
whatever? So
parallel gets you 4 ohms. Like
I think
I
you're
mean,
drawing completely inaccurate correlations to things that like we're way off in the fucking weeds here.
I think
Yeah, we are way, way off.
here's the thing though. Uh, It's
Go
it's
for it,
college
Jake.
educated people. It's college educated people that are like, designing your iPhone, not people
Yeah.
that are self taught, that thought they knew better.
College educated
Oh,
people
wait,
design
wait,
the
wait.
cars and
So
build the cars.
college educated people design most of the electronics we're talking about. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that because a lot of the leaders in those industries were college dropouts. What are you talking about?
The actual people do the work, though. The
Yeah,
people who actually design.
not the people that had like very high social IQ, and they were smart enough to bring together and identify talent and bring people together and build those companies. They weren't the ones that were actually doing the nitty gritty. Like Steve Jobs didn't care about the nitty gritty, right? He wasn't a technical guy at all. But what did he do is he had an eye for design, right? He would know something that's shit and something that's appealing, not from a technological perspective, but from a user kind of appearance and thing, and that's why Apple became what it is, right?
Was is
It's
why
not
Apple.
that
Yeah, was is the reason.
exactly.
Yeah, is the
Well,
vision
Wozniak is is a
Jobs. And
technical visionary,
yeah, you need both.
and
It's
Bill
Yeah,
Gates,
interesting.
he was a
this is
businessman.
completely non sequitur to our whole entire conversation because we can argue back and forth. Like, what was the college education of Einstein or Tesla or whatever? Some of these people that have put forth theories and certain things that have changed humanity. Most of the
Yeah,
time is not necessarily college educated
and
people.
Jeff
So, like, this
Bezos,
is completely
and
non sequitur to our conversation.
Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk both went to prestigious universities and had college degrees. They're the two richest people on the planet and built some of the most successful and productive companies on earth. So I don't think you're going to have
Elon Musk threw parties for people.
Am I correct? Can someone correct me if I'm wrong? But am I correct in saying that Lewis and Clark were funded by the government?
Yes.
Okay.
What's your point there? They traversed the Missouri River and map things out. What's your point?
Well, my point is that the government sometimes does fund things that benefit people, not just the government themselves. The government's job is not necessarily to. The government's job is to sustain itself. That's true, but the government doesn't sustain itself on a stupid society. The government benefits from an educated society. So when you
Correct. The
when you
government
invest in
benefit.
education,
I would
you
agree.
benefit the society. And part of that,
No,
to bring
not
it back if
necessarily.
we could, is investing in things like technology, and that would include aeronautics, space, and the rest of that. That's all part of the same thing. Anyone who's
Sure. So
applied Boeing can understand.
right, but the advancements in a lot of that were not necessarily due to government. Government comes in and does certain things, right? Just because government co-ops certain things doesn't mean that it's a creation solely of the government.
Well, one thing that government is useful for is investing in long shots that maybe aren't going to have a payoff in 5 years or in 10 years, but have a payoff down the road, like the space
Yes,
program, right? That's
that's
how
a
the
very
space
good point.
program. It was too expensive for any private
When are we
investors to
going to
get
see the
together, and the
payoff?
long term pay. You don't think we have a payoff now? The fact that your phone can identify where you are anywhere on the earth, the fact that
That's from cell
you
towers.
have
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
super accurate day-to-day weather. The fact that oil exploration is now done through satellites, right? That's like the stuff that PhD Tony talks about, right? Gravimetric readings map out where water and oil is located around the world. Like, you don't think that those are all tangible, useful things?
That's not
That
directly from space travel.
no, it's
Artemis 2
not.
is never going to invent any type of useful technology, and nor does it expect to. To try to tie those two ideas together is retarded. It's just a dumbed down way of thinking. To say that they
Well, I
invented
mean,
Velcro and they
we are at
invented
a flat Earth
GPS.
server.
Yeah, but
You
to
wouldn't
try
have
to
The
tie
GPS
those
without
two
problem,
space.
ideas together is completely
That
a
was a
category
snide.
error, man.
It
What are you
also
doing?
drove the invention of computers.
Dumb.
You
no.
wouldn't have
So
Even
GPS
here's
without
the
space
thing.
technology. I mean,
Just to say because we steal money from everybody and we have these things doesn't mean that those things wouldn't happen had we not stolen money from people, right?
You
Because the
mean like
people who are
SpaceX? Oh
creating these
yes, there you
things
go.
still have the ability to do that. They still have the
Means
ability to create things, and many inventions have happened outside of government, right? If anything, most of the um, cutting edge technology has happened outside of government. Government will come in and squash it if it's not advantageous for government itself, even though it might be advantageous for society as a whole. If the government sees no benefit for themselves, they will completely
Con-
squander that technology.
Give me an
It's
example of technology that.
contradictory. Yeah, it's contradictory to having a thriving, successful population to support the government.
Give me an
Anyways,
example of
like you
time.
don't want
it's
to
an interesting
falsely
question there.
attribute things to things like NASA. Like if you really want to bolster up NASA or like space travel, do it honestly. Computers and development of them would have came about regardless of if NASA was built or if NASA landed a man on the moon. It didn't it didn't create computers or the development of it. It like you guys will always take credit for things that have nothing to do with
You
it.
guys,
You're bolster yeah, I mean someone in this channel said computer development was due to space
Yes.
travel.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it was.
No,
so
It was.
it spearheaded the development of the microprocessor, of shrinking computers down, making them more lightweight, all kinds of new
industry did that.
technologies in. No, it didn't. It was spearheaded by the space
Well,
agencies.
pick one
Incorrect.
It
thing.
was it
Computer
was
Industry did
taken
that.
Rockwell,
over. It was
one
it
word,
was it
Rockwell.
was carried on later on by private industry, but it was
No.
pushed hard
2 words,
originally
Booz
by a
Allen.
space agency.
So like let's like dive into one thing, right? Computer processors. The Apollo program, right? They bought a lot of circuits, so therefore computer processor development
No,
was spearheaded.
they didn't buy a lot of things. They literally went to MIT and asked MIT to develop an entire new type of way of computing, and also write new code, develop ways of putting code into computers, because you got to imagine the best they had at the time was literally magnetic ring wire computers that had to be hand woven. All right, it was because of
Dang.
MIT and because of NASA is the reason why the microprocessor was originally developed, because they were looking for new ways to make computers smaller, easier to manufacture, and easier to build. The private industry took those advancements and ran with those and took them even further.
Okay, so
Yeah, here
like
I'm reading an article.
you know when people say that like NASA's using up a huge chunk of the budget, and then the rebuttal is it's a fraction of the budget. Well, when it comes to the people who made Texas Instruments and the IC, the integrated circuit, that's a fraction of what started any type of integrated circuit production, what NASA did and what they did with MIT. So if you want to take that argument and say NASA spearheaded it by contributing a small portion, a small fraction of its development, then we can just say, oh, well, NASA's using, it's spearheading government funds. It's taking so much of government funds. You're allowing for that type of argumentation. Like, truthfully, NASA gave a very small fraction to MIT. There were private companies that later invented these chips. NASA didn't do it. I think it was like
Well, I
Fairchild,
think
TI, Texas
Are
Instruments did it.
are
Yes,
you
NASA
are you
didn't
suggesting
spearhead anything at all. They contributed a very small fraction.
wrong. You're
The
so
are you
wrong,
same
suggesting that a
way,
Fernando.
company
I'm about to
are you
finish. I'm about to
suggesting
finish my
that
point. I'm about to finish my point. So the same way that people will say NASA gets a very small fraction of the government budget, NASA contributed a very small fraction towards processing. It's a common misconception. That's just processors. So if you want to go through each of the lines of, things that NASA did for computers, we can do that, but not processors. That's a common misconception, historical error.
I would I was just wondering if suggesting that a company like SpaceX could have been created and then just be a lot smaller, or perhaps
So
50%
now
of
we
the
need to
size they
like
are now
non
without the
sequitur
input of
into a
government.
different
That's
point and
interesting.
not
I
address the
think we got
salient
there. I
point.
think we got there in the end.
Yeah,
Made my
I
point.
Yeah,
think
now
if
we
he
need
was
to
going
non
to actually
sequitur
make
into
a
a different
point,
point and not
he would
address the
ask
salient
you.
point
Try
before
hard,
you
man.
guys
Try
weren't getting
hard. You
anywhere
made
in
my
the
point.
conversation.
Yeah, I
That's
think
all
if
right.
he was actually going to make
You
a
win.
point, he
You'll
would
win
ask
one at
you
some
whether or
point,
not Texas
I'm sure.
Instruments was founded by the United States government.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the point. I mean, we're addressing processors. We can go into different things like LED screens. You can go into all the different aspects of what make a computer. Because, Cole made a claim, and I wanted to defend that claim for him. I want to make it stronger. So if NASA contributed to computer technology development, we can make that claim stronger. So we start with processors. We can go into GPUs. We can go into video cards. We can go into um,
Yeah,
computer
NASA
screen
definitely had a
LEDs.
very small portion of it, but that small portion was arguably the most important portion, even though it might have been very tiny portion to the whole of computer development. It was arguably the most important. It was the very beginning when you had to dump a lot of money into it to get the least amount of gains. And that's where
How do we
NASA
know
came
that?
in. And then after that, after a lot of the technologies were developed, then private industry took them and ran with them and made them into
Yeah, it's
unimaginably
important to note
powerful
that
things.
before computers really proved their case in the business world, the early days of computing in the 60s and the 70s, the US government was by and large the biggest customer and the biggest pusher for making the stuff smaller and lighter weight because it was going on jets, it was going on spacecraft, right? They were building out data centers, the earliest supercomputers, right? All this stuff was for military purposes. So they were the biggest driver in terms of funding companies like Intel, Texas Instruments, and Fairchild Semiconductor, stuff like that. In those early days, before the private case had been really taken off and businesses saw the huge benefit in that, the early innovators in that technology were driven by government contracts and money and government performance specs.
That's an interesting point. If you look long term, say you look in decades, in times, in periods of decades. Okay, so you have initial government investment and government pushing technologies and stuff, and then years later, now what we have in space is we have a lot of big businesses, a lot of commercial businesses that are involved in space travel and are able to make money on it. So it's not possible at this point, I don't think, to make money going to the moon, but they will make money somehow. Someone will fill a need, will see a need and fill it, and someone will do that in the private sector. So that when government kickstarts something like that, that's why I mentioned Lewis and Clark. When they kickstart something like that, it sparks a bunch of other stuff that then commercial people in the commercial private sector can then push, and that is what drives the growth. But it's correct to say that you spend money from the government by taking money out of other people's pockets.
May I,
That seems like a zero sum game.
It's not a
I get
Kickstarter.
that argument.
may I
Right,
respond
okay.
to that in 10 seconds or less?
Go for it. You can take a minute.
No, okay, so that's an appeal to the future fallacy. You're appealing to
Another
the same.
fallacy.
Please be quiet. You were you were
No,
done.
you can.
So I would have been done in 10 seconds. Could you please let me speak for 10
I'm
seconds?
not talking
So
about fallacies.
Red Cloud, stop. Stop doing that. Let him speak.
Stop calling fallacy every time.
may, may I speak,
Fallacy.
may I speak for 10
That
seconds?
doesn't mean you have the right to interrupt him with little chirps and like little things. He's in the middle of speaking. LeftLane, stop. Okay, please stop interrupting. Noah's in the middle of speaking. He said he was only going to take 10 seconds. Go ahead, Noah. Thank you.
Okay, that's an appeal to the future fallacy, and you're appealing basically to an imaginary space colonization future, which we have no idea is going to manifest or not. Thank you very much.
Well, so there you go with that.
Yeah, he's allowed to contribute to the discussion any way he likes without being interrupted.
Zero contribution.
Well, there you go with that, LeftLane.
Zero contribution.
go.
Like your contribution is to say zero contribution, which is ironically zero. Thank you, LeftLane.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wanted to give a rebuttal, I mean, for those who like hem and haw when fallacies are brought up, I just think it's incredibly invalid to hem and haw because fallacies are very, very important. Like, if we want to get to truth, if we want to have knowledge, if something is fallacious, we want to know. We want to know if there's a flaw in it so that we can either better our understanding or whatever it may be. Doesn't mean it has to be like an ego battle between two people where it's like, I'm right and you're wrong. It's more about just what is right and what's wrong for everyone involved. So for those who hem and haw when fallacies are brought up, what would you prefer? Do you want to just have like everybody's just doing fallacious, like just ad homs are flying, straw mans? Like, is that how you want to spend your time? With just
No,
just
Gio, the rebuttal. The rebuttal is that's a fallacy. Blah blah blah, and that's it. That's the rebuttal. It ends the combo at that point.
By the way, you
Well,
can
you
be
can-
completely right. You can be completely
That's what
right,
has to be-
and you can.
Well, hold on. If I said something and then someone said that's fallacious, I would say, okay, how is it fallacious? I mean, ideally, if you know, and then they would say, well, it's fallacious in these ways, and then ideally, if it was fallacious, I could say, okay, I see what you mean. That is technically fallacious. I will try to think about this more, or I'll go back to the drawing board, or I'll try to reformulate it. Wouldn't that be the intellectually honest way to go? Because if you respond with, like, I would say the unproductive thing is to roll your eyes and say, oh, all you're saying is a fallacy, and then you don't even respond to the fallacy that was called out. Now we just lost a learning opportunity because you could rebut it. And you could be like, hey, yeah, it is a fallacy, or it's not. Be like, no, it isn't a fallacy because this and that reason. And we could all learn something or grow from that, you know? Whereas if you just try to insult the guy for saying a fallacy, then no, we don't get anywhere, right? There's not even a rebuttal for it.
Or
Yeah,
we
that's a
could
good
talk for
point,
about
Gio.
5 minutes about fallacies.
Well, that's a good point,
Not get
Gio,
anywhere.
because it's like if
That's a
everybody's
straw man
just
because I
sit
didn't rub
here,
my eyes.
if everybody just sits here and spouts fallacies, what is the point, right? Like if we're just going to constantly say fallacious things, what is the point to anybody having a conversation? Like we're fallacy after fallacy after fallacy. Like let's just talk only in fallacies. What is the actual
But
point to that?
this is it. This is the point, guys. This is it. This is why we don't want to call fallacy as a rebuttal, because we end up talking about fallacies instead of the damn topic.
No,
Well,
what's
the
actually
topic is only
happening, LeftLane,
the
is
top.
someone calls out a fallacy. They say the reasoning to
And you
that claim
continue.
please
The
stop
topic is
interrupting. So
the
someone calls out
topic
a
is
fallacy. They say the reasoning to that claim or argument is flawed. And then what happens is you endlessly bitch and complain about it. So people have to explain to you why it's a good thing to call it out. And then you interrupt constantly. You're making it laborious and tedious rather than saying, maybe the reasoning is flawed on this thing.
I
Yeah.
think it's
May I
funny
read?
that
May I read?
It's usually not, though.
May I
it's funny
read
that
this thing? This little
100% of
excerpt.
the fallacies are called out from non-Globers towards Globers, but non-Globers never ever call out fallacies towards each other.
Okay. May I
Okay,
read
so
this
I have
little
that's
plenty of
excerpt? May I read
completely
conversations.
this
To
little
make a
excerpt?
untrue.
point, I
I've had
have
people.
conversations with
Hang
other
on,
people.
that's
I don't get
completely. Let me respond,
fallacies
please.
called out every
That's
5 seconds.
completely untrue. I've had people call out fallacies
That's a
on
fallacy.
me, and LeftLane and Cole will support them, and then I'll purposefully not call out fallacies to illustrate the hypocrisy.
Also, you said Glober versus Glober or whatever. Bacon.
No, non-Glober.
Bacon calls out. Well, everybody calls fallacies. You guys just tried to call Napalm out earlier for a fallacy. So
That's
what's
a
up with
joke.
that?
It was.
May I read this little
Yeah, I was
excerpt
kidding.
real quick?
The only thing I would say is that in general, when you go to certain servers, you talk with a lot of other people. Everyone in here talks to a lot of other people. There's nowhere else that we go. When I chat with people in other servers, there's nowhere else I go where fallacies are called out. If you count them per minute, the fallacies per minute rate, it's very, very high for some reason. General conversations, because it's not a formal debate. We're not in a formal debate.
Okay,
Well, maybe that's why most of your reasoning is
everywhere I
like
go, people call out twice as many fallacies as here, and then that gets us nowhere, right?
Yeah, but
May
that's
may I read my excerpt?
It's not a dialogue.
Go ahead, no.
May I read the excerpt, please? Okay, so in debate and logic, the argument to the future is a fallacious tactic, where someone attempts to validate the current claim by using unproven evidence that will surely be discovered later. The flaw, instead of using present facts, the speaker assumes their conclusion is true just because.
That's
What's
a
up with
joke.
that?
it was.
May I read this
Yeah,
excerpt real quick?
The only thing I would say is that in general, when you go to certain servers, you talk with a lot of other people. Everyone in here talks to a lot of other people. There's nowhere else that we go. When I chat with people in other servers, there's nowhere else I go where fallacies are called out. If you count them per minute, the fallacies per minute rate, it's very, very high for some reason. General conversations, because it's not a formal debate. We're not in a formal debate.
Okay,
well, maybe that's why
equally
most of
say
your reasoning is
everywhere I go,
fallacious.
people call out twice as many fallacies as here, and then that gets us nowhere, right?
Yeah, but that's
May
just
I read my excerpt
It's not
after
good
this
dialogue.
cacophony?
Go ahead, Noah.
May I read the excerpt, please? Okay, so in debate and logic, the argument to the future is a fallacious tactic, where someone attempts to validate their current claim by using unproven evidence that will surely be discovered later. The flaw, instead of using present facts, the speaker assumes their conclusion is true just because it might be proven in the future. That directly applies to space colonization and comparing Lewis and Clark to like astronauts and the such. There's a direct appeal to the future argument. is directly fallacious. It is not good reasoning. You can't just assume we're going to colonize in the future and there's going to be a booming colonization industry. No, that is not a good argument, just assuming what's going to happen in the future and then concluding from there. So thank you.
Okay, and I
I'm
would
sure
say
that
that's
you
a
have never.
valid critique to what was said. And then, if I was on the other side making the argument for it, where it might be good in the future, I would say, well, here's the why that's not valid, why that doesn't apply. It wouldn't be like don't call out a fallacy, that ruins the discussion. I would say, okay, well, here's how it's not an appeal to the future. Here's how it's valid that it could be useful then.
So then that would mean that anytime anybody speculates on something using the past as a historically, that'd be a fallacy. Like, I think it's safe to invest in real estate because real estate has gone up over the long term, for centuries. I'm investing in this company because it's had 50 years of strong growth, right? That's a fallacy.
Well,
You're
you said
assuming
speculates
something
on
in
the
the
past. I mean,
future.
speculates on the future, but no, it's not any time somebody speculates on something. It's sometimes people will say things are going to be good in the future when they don't have a good reason to believe it. That's why a very common fallacy you guys hear every day is the sunk cost fallacy, where someone thinks that if they keep going, eventually, they need to invest more and more and more into it. There's also the gambler's fallacy where they play the lottery for 10 years and they say, well, if I play the lottery 5 more times or 1,000 more times, eventually I'm going to win because I've already invested so much. Very common. You'd agree that, like, if I play the lottery for 10 years, playing it more doesn't increase my chance of winning the lottery?
Right, it doesn't. And there is no history of someone that, oh, they played the lottery a lot, and so then they were more likely to win the lottery, right?
Yeah, so then appeal to the future would be completely legitimate there, right? It's the same thing as the sunk cost fallacy or the gambler's fallacy, which we hear about every day. It's actually very common to say, like, there's classic ones too, right? Smoking's not bad. My grandma smoked until she was 95 and she was breathing fine.
Right, but we're talking about something completely different, right? Because exploring new land has turned out to be fruitful endeavor by and large throughout human history. There really have been very few times where new land was explored and ended up being something bad. Usually, what was uncovered were, new plants and animals to eat or to make money off of, or minerals or whatever, right?
Yeah, it
New sources of
depends, right? You
water.
have to weigh whether or not that investment is actually going to pay off. Where like $2 billion that could be used to just feed people. How do we know
Right.
that NASA's gonna pay?
So
Like the
we,
Artemis
we can
mission,
make
for
it.
example.
We
Hang
can
on
make
one
an
second.
argument that yeah, maybe we're better off, feeding kids, starving kids in Africa than putting, $10 billion into Artemis. But that's a different argument, right? But this idea though that developing new land somewhere is not going to pay off. I mean, that goes against like human
But
history, right? Almost all
but
the
when
times
you
in human history that we've investigated new land, we found something useful and a way to profit off of it, right?
Except
but
the
but
moon,
but you
right? We
realize
investigated new land, right?
hold,
According to your paradigm, you investigated new land, you landed on the moon. How did that pay off?
It didn't.
Well,
it didn't.
Thank you,
But
Cole.
that,
It
that, that's
didn't.
what that's what
The
we're
Lewis
saying
and
though.
Clark example I find is very interesting, right? So I'm from where Lewis and Clark started their expedition, right? So I'm very familiar with this. The Louisiana Purchase was already made prior to Lewis and Clark's exploration. So it's not like they went out there to discover new land to see if it was advantageous to purchase it. It was already purchased. They were just going out and plotting out the land to figure
Just
out whether there would be a decent ROI. What can we do? How much can we invest here? Where can we start to put civilizations? Where can towns start to spring up? What of what we already purchased is usable to us? It's not like Lewis and Clark did an exploration and then we had the Louisiana Purchase. You guys understand
What?
that, right?
Well, what
Yeah,
about
the
what about what
Can
Louisiana
I
what
Purchase
about
came
when?
first.
may I read another expert after the coffee? All
I
right.
just want to say
So
real quick while ago, just real fast,
okay,
Noah,
after
just
this guy.
super fast. After me, I just wanted to respond and say a while ago that the moon landing itself didn't pay off as far as like us landing on the moon itself. The payoff came from all the developments of us developing the space agency and everything that went along with it. That's where the payoff came from. The actual moon landings didn't pay off themselves
No,
at
that's
all.
that's the rhetoric you're told to justify
But
it.
go ahead, Noah.
It's not an actual payoff.
Okay, so past performance can inform expectations, but is not a guarantee of future results. Markets can change due to economic conditions, policies, demographic, valuation extremes, or cultural shifts. It would be considered a form of appeal to future or faulty inductive reasoning. The market always gone up, so it will continue to go up. In direct response to Jake on the plane, and now here is a real life example. A classic example of this is the Japanese stock market. In 1998, it hit an all-time high near 39,000. Then the bubble burst, the index fell massively, not to recover. So Japanese stocks have always gone up. They'll continue to go up. Was dead wrong. People lost their entire livelihoods based off this line of reasoning. Thank you very much.
Has Toyota stock gone up in the last 30 years?
Complete non-response to like that. He's done. He's done.
Yeah, I find the whole Lewis and Clark thing kind of funny too, right? Like, what was the point there? Like, the government paid them to go explore, figure out, make amends with some of the Native Americans after they had already made the purchase of the land. So, what is the point of that whole Lewis and Clark thing? Like,
Because
I
once
don't know.
they bought the land, they wanted to know just how much land they really had. And they wanted to know just exactly how far it went. They knew that it went to the Pacific Ocean, but they didn't know the exact distances, the exact, they wanted to know all that. They just purchased it, paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah. So, how is that relevant to the point that was made when it was brought up? Because the person that brought it up made it sound like, oh, look at what happened because of Lewis and Clark's expedition and the fact that the government funded their expedition. Therefore, X, Y, and Z happened. Like that's some sort of space exploration.
That specific Japan example, by the way, the reason why the Japanese growth has been so poor is because they've had a declining population for the last 30 years, which has caused their GDP to decline because every year there's less and less productive members in society. Right? They have the most aging population on earth. There's less and less people of working age in the country to produce stuff.
How is that relevant to the conversation?
Well, you found this outlier to try to use it as some kind of evidence that you can't make informed choices about the future, on future performance based on past performance, right?
I did not make that point.
Finding an outlier, a well
Galley
explained
did.
outlier. Well, whoever it
First
was
of
that
all,
read it.
Galley did. But it's just common sense that if you have less people, the economic production based on the amount of people you have would decrease.
Yeah, unless you find some way to like greatly increase the GDP per capita, your GDP is going to be going down.
Yeah. So tie that into the whole idea or concept of the fallacy that Galley was bringing up, where because this happened is therefore guaranteed to happen in the future. Because
Nobody says
let's say Japan has a declining population, but artificial intelligence is everything that it's spoken to be. So is it possible that even though you have a declining population, that you might have an increase in GDP because you found efficiencies outside?
Yeah, but then again, that's going to require, you're not going to have the past. Maybe if you had some past metric of something similar situation that you could try and use to predict the future, then you could make an informed decision about the future. But simply
But then
making a prediction about the future, and nobody said about guaranteed, right? That's doing a lot of lifting there when you're going to tie something completely concrete to it, right? Nobody's saying that it's guaranteed. It's just saying that trending wise, when human beings explore new land, invest in exploring new land, they get fruits for their labor, right? Look at the when the monarchy in Spain sent out Columbus, right? And then they developed trading in North and Central America, right? That was huge for the country. That was a very good investment, right?
it's not
There's very few
necessarily
times.
true because there's been boondoggles where people have invested in, let's say we decide to put half of our GDP into exploring Antarctica. Do you think that's going to be advantageous for us? Just because there was
Probably.
something in the past that was advantageous, and the Lewis and Clark example is not necessarily a good one to begin with, but Gally pointed out how it's a fallacy because guess what? If I decide to go explore the whole entire Pacific Ocean myself and the government funds me to do it, doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a return on that investment. If they give me $6.5 billion a year to troll around in the Pacific Ocean, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to find something that's going to be advantageous for humanity.
Sure, I mean, but that goes where you look into the past and see, what kind of discoveries have been made out in the middle of the ocean that have been fruitful, right? Which is going to obviously be far less than than land, right?
Which is
And
why
and
it's a
then and then the
fallacy.
same and the same could be applied to Antarctica, right? You're a place where literally is inhospitable to life. There's only a few different species that can even survive out there. Um, that's going to be even less likely to be fruitful, right? But who
Yeah,
knows? I mean,
you're making my
maybe
point.
massive, maybe there's a massive amount of some natural resource under Antarctica that hasn't been discovered yet. So maybe you could find something. You spend that money to do it to do it, right? I mean, ignoring the fact that there's probably treaties and things that wouldn't allow you to extract the mineral rights, but
You're kind of making our point, right? You
no,
understand what Gally was
not.
saying about the fallacy, right?
I think the fallacy only applies though if you're trying to sell it as a sure thing. I don't think it's unreasonable to use past performance, past history on things like oil exploration, right? Like oil companies, one of their biggest
That's not
costs is
the
oil
point.
exploration, right? But oil exploration is very expensive. Sometimes you yield that, but by and large, it's fruitful. Why do they continue to do it? Because past performance has dictated that if you spend enough money, you're going to hit eventually, and then you're going to have a huge resource, right? So that's why oil companies continue to explore for oil based on prior performance. It's otherwise you would just say it's a fallacy. They found oil in the past, but there's no guarantee they're going to find it in the future. Why are they spending billions of dollars exploring for oil?
You're still missing the point of the fallacy, right? Did you understand what he said about the fallacy?
I would say that from what I understand the fallacy, it would be a fallacy to say that if you explore for oil, you're guaranteed to find oil and make money because it's been done in the past. I think that would be a fallacy to say that.
Correct. So if somebody said, because Lewis and Clark traversed the Missouri River and they were funded by the government, ergo, any government spending into exploration is going to be advantageous for humanity, which is fallacious.
I mean, I don't know too much about how much Lewis and Clark mapping out the Northwest or whatever. How much of that really helped advance things of land that was obviously going to be explored eventually. As you said, it was already purchased. Um, but I think it can absolutely apply to situations like exploring, looking for minerals, right? Looking for gold, looking for oil, right?
But if I use that
Now,
as an example, right, and I tried to justify a boondoggle that the government got into and spent trillions of dollars on, and I said, well, because there was some advantage to this one thing that the government did in the past, this now justifies the reason that we're spending trillions of dollars in space, even though there's no actual trickle down benefit to society. There might be some uh, ancillary things that take place that might be beneficial that came up because not necessarily directly involved in space exploration that would have continued to advance because, oh, guess what? I created a computer. If I created a computer, it would be incumbent upon me to constantly improve upon my invention. And if I had a company and I had shareholders, it would be incumbent upon me to constantly improve that company. But if I got investment from the government, it doesn't mean that because of the government, therefore, that's the reason why my advancement in computers was possible, right? And even though the government might put money into certain industries to fund their boondoggles, doesn't mean that that investment in those companies is advantageous across the board because like I said previously there's something like called the broken window fallacy where just because you're dumping money into a certain industry that might not have been propped up for a reason of need but because of let's just say government wants to do something, sure, in the short term it's going to put money into an industry and it might boost it up, but that doesn't mean that money that's dumped into the economy is advantageous because what is the cost, right? The possibility of what that money would have done had the government not taken it and put it into a boondoggle to begin with. What things didn't arise that we didn't even know about that didn't have the proper funding because the funds were not there for it to grow. We can't always put a finger on that, right? Just because certain things came out of government spending doesn't mean that that money that was spent on government was better spent in those areas because we have no way of saying that that money would not have been spent in other areas and been more advantageous for society as a whole being spent somewhere else.
I think though the government is in the unique position is that they can invest in long shots that is very, very hard to invest in the private equity market. Very, very hard. When you're looking at like things that pay off in a decade or 2 decades type timeline, you basically lose every private investor on the planet, right? And governments can and do invest in projects like that that do end up paying out huge dividends at the end of that investment, right?
Dude, I think private equity is one of the worst things we have in our country, and it's only supported by governmental policy. I work in that industry. It is the biggest leech on our society currently. I wholeheartedly believe that.
And that's how a lot of like our greatest companies got started, right? With private equity. I mean, why would you make such a blanket statement when some of the biggest, most successful companies on earth have been funded by private equity?
Because I don't think some of the most biggest successful companies on earth are advantageous for society as a whole. I think we're moving into a realm where people are being so exploited and dumbed down by these higher classes. I mean, it is such a rate right now that is almost unfathomable to the average individual. The amount of money that is being funneled into certain projects that are to the detriment of people and society. We talk about, oh, apparently most people probably in here would agree if they're NASA fans that advancement in technology is paramount. That is the only thing that we can hang our fucking hats on. That if we continue to get more and more technology to people, the better society is. But I think most people subconsciously, if they haven't already consciously understood it, that most of the things that technology has brought us has actually brought us more rates of depression, removement from society as individuals and are putting people in a way worse place, not only physically, mentally, psychologically, than we have ever experienced in the past. So to say that technological advances are always going to be advantageous, I think is just naive.
Yeah, that's kind of a straw man there, though. I never said that all technological advancements are yield, positive results for humanity as a whole, right? Obviously, certain
I
aspects of
didn't
the
say that
internet
you
have been
did.
hugely,
I never
hugely.
made the claim that you said that, by the way. So I didn't straw man you into anything.
I thought you were insinuating that was my position.
No, I would say most people in here who think that technological advancements are only solely benefiting humanity as a whole are naive. I didn't say that you made that claim. So it's not a straw man, it's a blanket statement. And whether we agree or disagree on a lot of things, you might actually agree with me on that point, just as people
Is
having a conversation.
Yeah, not all technology is beneficial for society, right?
I would agree. I would say the more we've moved into the social media society and the more we have become quote unquote connected, the less connected human beings have been from other human beings. Sure, it's been a technological advancement, but I think it has been a regression of society as a whole. I don't know about you, but I have zero social media. If you consider Discord social media, sure, I have Discord, but I have zero social media. And I hang out with people often in the real world. And there's so many times when people will not have just normal conversations and automatically make assumptions that I know what's going on in their life because they posted it on Facebook or Instagram. People are not having conversations about what's going on in their life with actual real world people at a rate that it used to take place. And you have such bonding issues with just humans building like legitimate, awesome humanitarian bonds with other individuals because of social media. But hey, technology is getting better. Social media might even be better 10 years from now. We're going to have more connectivity. You're going to have more ways to see more people across the whole entire world. You're going to have more insight into everybody's going to have a camera on everything that they're doing so we can see everything. But I don't know if that's advantageous.
That just made me think, like, at what point is just everyone going to be wearing body cams, which you basically already are with your phone, but I'm talking like actual body cams, and then people will be like tuning in to just watch someone else's life. They'll just like sitting all day watching someone else's body cam live 24/7, even when they're sleeping. That's a wild
That's
thought.
already kind of happening, right? Like people are just live streaming their room 24/7. They're either on the computer doing stupid stuff or playing a video game and then they're live streaming while they sleep. You know, it's like already getting to that point. And like I'm saying, Gio, it's like I even have like close family members that don't even like they automatically assume I know what's going on in their life and they don't even talk to me about things because they posted it on Facebook to broadcast it to people that they don't even really know. It's so weird. Like, is that better for humanity? I feel like we're losing humanity to this advancement. And maybe I'm in the minority here.
would agree. Social
Anybody
media
else?
is applied on the world. I don't have any social media myself either.
But do you find what I'm saying to kind of ring true, right? Like when you're in the real world with people that you've known for a while, I feel like I've lost more connection with people the more I've been quote unquote connected to people. Or the more people have been connected in general. Like I feel like these are the conversations we need to have, right? Like we're arguing about a bunch of things while we're continuing to buy in. Like who benefits, Kibono, who benefits from pushing us to these platforms and pushing this advancement in technology? Who benefits? Are we benefiting from it? Are we really benefiting from it?
Well, there's positivity to human connection, though. That could be argued. Instead of being completely isolated. Like, is that a positive? Just to be connected to others in some way?
Yes. But I would say the average person doesn't lack the ability to connect to people. Like we live in boxes that are like literally within pissing distance of other boxes that people live in. And we have very little connection to those people in the way we did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Like, I don't know, Gio, do you see a net benefit of like social media and the social media culture? Like people becoming increasingly wealthy, like extremely wealthy in these social media spaces. Do you think that those people are like contributing positively to society and the amount of money that's flowing to them from others is like beneficial for society? I don't know. Like, I think it's like upside down and backwards, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a tough question to answer because there's so many different types of like producers out there that are producing content. So
Yeah.
it's probably a range of like some positive, but yeah, probably a lot of negative.
I would say it's a net negative, but there is some positive, right? Like I can learn a lot of things from people that post like, this is how I fix this specific brand of uh washer and dryer, and this is how you can repair it yourself. Like there's some advantage to that, but the vast majority of like people that post videos like that are not making money. Like that's not driving the network. Take for instance like OnlyFans. Like how much money is being funneled into this, whatever you want to call that. And then
Prostitution.
yeah, and then these OnlyFans models become celebrities, and it becomes like what young women look up to. Well, I can make money if I post my butthole on the internet, right? Like constantly over and over. Like is I don't. It's becoming very. I don't know. I just feel we've had a huge technological shift that has just put a lot of our society and culture into degenerate behavior. And say what you will about that, whether it comes from like a religious aspect or not, but like whether you're religious or not, I think deep down most people don't think that that is a net positive, that degenerate behavior.
For sure. Well, there's all the sexualization in the media and everything that goes into that, but and just prostitution in general, basically. And yeah, that is a whole crazy thing. But in terms of the actual like social media, though, what do you think about the idea that getting everyone focused on other people, even though it is kind of like could be short term entertaining and interesting? Do you think that in the end of the day, it kind of distracts people from like living their own life because they're so involved in distractions and other people, and getting everyone involved in other people kind of takes you away from like finding, let's say like finding who you really are or what you really want or what your actual creativity or talents may be, or some ways that you could help the world in some way that you're just so like overly focused on somebody else's dramas, especially if it's, I mean, the sexual thing has its own entire thing to it, but I'm just saying like, just even in the daily life of people, being distracted. Do you think it's like a way to kind of distract people from being themselves, just to get everyone involved in someone else basically, and kind of just like stalled in their own life process?
Yes. And I think it initially started with the creation of sitcoms and soap operas and has transitioned into social media. And I think there's a reason for that. There's a reason why television is called programming. And there's a reason why all of this is taking place. And it does. It pulls you away, and it makes you think that you are living vicariously through these people. And then subconsciously, I think many people are finding and I think this is one of the major causes to the increase in depression rates, because a lot of what people broadcast on social media, even if it's people that you kind of somewhat know, is not necessarily a truth. It's a fabrication that can look good for the screen. And it makes a lot of people feel as though their life is not up to par. They're not doing what they should. They're not as successful as they should. And most of what's being broadcast, as far as like the monetary gain, which is what most people I think adhere to or look at, right? These people, oh, they're making money. They're going to Bali and they're going to Thailand and they're in St. Thomas this week. Gosh, they have such the life. And I wish that I had that life. And it takes them away from understanding that they probably have a better life than those individuals at home, with just having a family and relationships and people that love them, because they have no idea whether or not these influencers experience any of that. And to me, that at home aspect is leaps and bounds way more beneficial for somebody than whatever these influencers think that they're doing. It's a reason why most of the sitcoms back in the day, it's like Dallas, ooh, everybody's rich, you know, Friends. Oh, nobody has an actual real job that's of significance, but nobody actually has to really do anything. And they just live these glamorous lives, right? Like, I think our rates of depression could be, I don't know if it's causation, but you could draw a very distinct line to the rates of depression. And as this social media influencer culture continues to grow and blossom and bloom, I feel like maybe it's not a solid line, but it's definitely a dashed line to the increases in depression and people feeling inadequate in what they do. Like if everywhere you turn and everything that you take in is people that you perceive as though an average person that is so much better off than you financially and socioeconomically and all of that stuff, the more you're going to fall into depression. But I mean, on the flip side of that, people could make the argument that it could be motivational for individuals as well. So I see that there is that aspect. But is that motivational aspect outweighing the thoughts of inadequacy? I don't know if that's the case. Well, I apologize. I guess I killed the chat. My bad.
What's up, Napalm?
What's up? What's
How
going
you
on?
been?
Fantastic, man. Yourself?
Great, man. I was listening to you on the live stream.
Ah, good to hear from you, man. It's been a while. I've been MIA. I've been contrary to what the Globers might believe, I'm continually educating myself. So I've been pretty busy.
Yeah, you're going to school, I heard.
Yeah, getting some more schooling done and credentialing and a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's just
Is it because
things are
you'll make
getting
more money in your specific job or in general?
yeah, that as well as like I've started to come to realize that there's zero guarantee of employment tomorrow, no matter what you do. And I'm just trying to make sure that I am, let's just say, on paper, as relevant as I can be, even though I know that I had leaps and bounds of like value above most people that I work with. I just want to make sure that no matter what, I can ensure that the algorithms understand the value that I do bring. It doesn't change it. Let's just say everything I'm doing doesn't necessarily change my value too much, but on paper and in the algorithms, it does. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. That's what's up. Yeah, there's like AI recruiters now, or like HR basically.
Yep. Yep. A lot of reduction in staff, assuming that AI is going to be able to fill those gaps. I think there's going to be like an AI hangover that these companies are going to experience.
I think they're already experiencing that, to be honest.
They're close, but you'd be surprised, man. Every new client I'm talking to, every engagement I'm involved in, it's like, what are we doing to lead with AI? AI, AI, AI. And it is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm basically getting my computer ready to switch to Cache OS Linux.
You guys are pumped about AI, right? Like all the cool stuff we could do with it.
Yeah, putting tits on the
So,
mouse is dope.
yeah. So let me put it this way. AI is a perfect augmentation to a good worker. But AI is never going to replace a good worker. And I think a lot of the higher brass, the upper levels, have been convinced that AI is going to be a seamless replacement for a good worker. And I don't think that's the case.
100%. It'll be the best worker. It'll be the best of the best of the best with honors. Bro,
It's the
you can't
worst.
beat the machine. No, you can't.
Certainly can, because yeah, you can.
The machine never calls in, right? It might break, but it don't call in like fake sick and shit. Like the best workers are gonna be AI machine. That's why we automate things, bro. What do you mean? We automate things because it's better than having a human do it.
Automation is not AI. You understand that, right? I think there's a problem with the broadcasting of what AI is and isn't. There's many different facets. There's a lot of technology that's coming down the pike that is automation driven. And then there's this idea or concept of artificial intelligence.
If AI is doing stuff though, it's you said it's gonna replace the best worker. Like if AI is doing it, then it's automated, right? We're not doing it, obviously. If
I
AI is
said it's
doing it.
never going to replace the best worker.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, and it's the automation is always gonna be better than the best worker.
I mean, think of it this way, right? A lot of people in our society have gainful employment, even though their skill set is extremely limited. We have a lot of people who can copy paste or can move from A to B and not much outside of that, right? And if we are replacing those individuals with automations or artificial intelligence, it's advantageous for the people at the top. But what does it do when we start to see large swaths of society that have no skills or skill set to be able to be gainfully employed? What is the societal cost of that?
I don't know. AI will still be better than the best worker.
So if AI is better than the best worker, which means it's way better than the worst worker, what is AI doing and how is it sustainable if most of these companies are selling things to other people? If people don't have the ability to be gainfully employed, what is the advantage economically?
Or you don't have an argument for the AI being a worse worker or something. Like I don't know. You're like making all kinds of arguments I'm not trying to make and shit. Like that's beside the point. I'm just saying like anytime we can automate something, it's always better than us doing it. That's why people love like washing machines and those little Roombas and shit. Like we love it.
All right. You
We
you
love
don't
it,
think
bro.
there's
We love washing machines. You like your washing machine, right?
yeah, but if I didn't have a job, how would I buy a washing machine?
Well, that's a whole nother fucking problem, bro. I hear you. You do UBI and shit. Like, I understand the repercussions of that. Like, who are you even selling
Yeah.
products to now if nobody has money to buy products? I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And where does the UBI come from, right? Like you have to have a tax base to be able to get the money to pay for the universal basic income. Like at what point is the snake eating its tail?
You might as well. That's what I'm saying. Like, once the automation hits, you might as well just get rid of money. Honestly, like, if you're still using money when that hits, it's only to make people like filthier rich than they already are. Because all the money will be going to like very few people at that point.
Do you know how costly AI is? How would we pay for AI? How would we continue to improve AI if there was no money?
We can
Where's
invent
the
things, but we can do stuff without money.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think you can run a society.
The way it is now, yeah. You have to set up a whole new fucking thing.
I would agree. I think collective individuals, and I am not a collectivist, but collective individuals should come together and build outside of where this current trajectory is going. And it ain't It ain't going to be, hey, how can we leverage all of this AI? That's for sure.
I mean, they better figure it out because this shit is like Terminator. It's inevitable. You know what I'm saying? This automation thing that's coming. I feel like they've been postponing it for decades because when you think about it, like we've had Detroit automated and using robots and stuff since like the 60s or 50s or something. Now that's like 70 years of putting together the most complicated shit we ever made, a car. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's probably the most complicated thing I own next to like my cell phone or the computer or something. Up until that shit came out, it was either way. We've
And
been assembling.
Detroit's cars have gotten increasingly worse, and their economy has declined considerably. So that's a good microcosm of the macrocosm of what's
Uh,
about to take place.
I'm just saying they were automating. They had it automated for decades and decades now, and that's the most complicated shit we make. You're telling me these guys couldn't figure out how to automate selling items in Walmart or putting together a number seven at McDonald's, or you know what I'm saying? Like they couldn't automate a lot of this other shit that's way less complicated.
No, it's not. It can easily be done. And the minute everything shifts to that, who's buying the burgers at McDonald's?
That's what I'm saying. I think they've been purposefully not automating things for decades now, and but you can only hold that off for so long though, because you
Just
know
the
what I'm saying.
cannibals. Just the cannibals.
Yep, just the cannibals. But I think they're intentionally going in this direction. I think they are trying to, oh, whatever, put on my conspiracy hat here, but I think they're trying to call back populations, gain more control, reduce
The
populations. The
Georgia
more
Guidestones.
Doesn't it
well,
make you guys
well,
think though, for a second
the
though,
the
about
more
like what if we had free energy back in 100 years ago with ether and stuff like that? Like, what if we did have abundance? Then what would we do?
we
Or
do
we'd
have
be
abundance
balling.
though.
We'd be
Even
balling
even without
out
though,
of control.
think of it this way, man. Like back in the day, even though it was a rougher life, I would say it was a more fruitful and better life when most people grew a lot of their own food. That everything that they consumed was extremely local, right? There was these small um, pockets of creators, blacksmiths. The furniture store owner was somebody that you knew, like all of this stuff, right? Like I think not only was it more beneficial for humans as a whole, for their soul, for their being, and the more we move away from that thing, right? Like, oh, we could just automate all of this. We could just have drones drop all of the furniture off at our house, and the furniture can all be automated, and it's all automated. Everything becomes automated, and everything just comes to us. At certain point, the person who's just consuming all of that becomes irrelevant to society. You're not contributing. You're not the guy who is selling the couch to their neighbor. You're not the guy who's forging the shovel that your local farmer is using to grow your food, right? Like you become irrelevant to society.
Well, I don't know about that. It's a bit much. You ever hear the phrase two heads are better than one?
Well, that's why men are better than women.
I'm just saying, bro, like you don't get a Tesla if you skim down the population and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you might not get these dudes. Like the more people you got, the more shot you got to get a Tesla or a Newton or, some crazy dude with science stuff. You
Oh,
know what I'm saying? Wouldn't you want like
like a
zillions
Nikola
of people?
Tesla.
Wouldn't you want like zillions of people? Like how many Teslas are you gonna get out of like 18 zillion people compared to 500 million and some Georgia guys don't shit? You're not gonna get a lot of Teslas out of that, maybe.
Yeah, but you're gonna get the problem with that, right? Is like I said, it's kind of
There's
a
no
snake
problem
eating
with
its
zillions of
tail.
people.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even the Teslas of the world get co-opted by the most economically like the higher economic people. Like all of his technology got co-opted. Like it all gets co-opted because
Yeah,
of the
well,
apparatus.
our systems all fucked up. I hear you, dude. But if you wanted to, like the ideal move, the real move would be to get as many people as you could possibly get. So that way, you know what I'm saying? You're getting these genius, you get more geniuses, you know? If we get one genius for every 100,000 people, or I don't, whatever the stat is, obviously you just want zillions of people. And then we have so many geniuses running around.
Or you just make the average population autistic, which makes them a good like input output slave and somebody that's not going to question authority, and you continue to inbreed.
You know, this AI is going to kill the imagination, I feel like, of people. Like, you know how the cell phones killed like our memory? You don't know anybody's fucking number right now. This AI is going to kill their whole imagination and shit.
You know whose number I know, Jeremy, is all the people I communicated with before I had a cell phone.
Before that, I know like a couple numbers. That's it. And it was people that had these numbers for decades now.
Yep. And you know what? I can go 1,200 miles from where I live and drive around neighborhoods that I grew up in and know them like the back of my hand. But I don't use GPS that much. But I still struggle in a place that I've lived for over 20 years, more so than I did if I went back to a place that I barely drove in for a decade navigationally. Does that make sense? Like people lose their sense or their ability to understand and recall where they're at, where they need to go, and how to get there because they're relying upon technology.
Yeah, the technology, it's like use it or lose it kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like your muscles will atrophy if you don't use them shits. So
Yep.
if you're not using your brain and shit, you know what I'm saying? You just lose it.
I don't know if that's really true. I
I don't know if
Well,
your
do.
some
brain
people.
atrophies. Your muscles certainly do. Your brain does to an extent, but
I mean, if you get enough nutrition, like really robust nutrition, I think your brain's all good. Even if you never thought again, you know, if you
What
just
about
never,
the cell phone? What about
if
all
you
the
never,
phone numbers?
if you never thunk another thought. Well, I think the memory is pretty deep. I mean, yeah, I remember a fair amount of numbers when I was young for sure. You kind of had to, especially if you're calling them frequently enough. You know, like you're going to remember it because if you're calling someone like every day for a while or a couple times a week or whatever, you're not going to have to look at it every time. You're just going to memorize it. But I think there's probably a lot of other things that we memorize now, perhaps, if we are not memorizing numbers. But I'm just saying, like, that idea is if you don't use your brain, you'll lose it. I just don't know if that's really true, ultimately.
I actually think there are some
Maybe.
pitfalls that specifically like boomers are falling into of like you got to keep your brain entertained. Here's this little game on your phone. And I think that's the worst thing that they can do is sit there and do these little games on their phone thinking they're keeping their brain active.
You know what people forget about though? The art of writing down something on a piece of paper and what it does
Right?
for your brain.
I'm against paper. 100% against paper.
No, like scribing something, though, writing it down, that is true. Like,
It's a whole different, like, yeah, it's totally
That's so
different muscle in your
barbaric.
brain.
It's
See,
barbaric, bro. Writing something down on a piece of paper manually, like, bro, what are
Jeremy
you
no, 'cause
doesn't
getting
like
at?
it, then I like it. That's
it
right.
actually, it's like it integrates the thoughts or information from, let's just say, the ether into something physical on a physical form. And even the motion of doing it as well, like the actual motion of your hand, like communicating with your hands like that.
I could see
It's a
carving it in rock. I could go with paper. I don't know.
no, it's a good
You think
task.
paper
It's
is
a good task.
harder than carving rock? What the hell's wrong with you, Jeremy?
I'm saying if you're gonna do
Right?
something, do it, bro.
He's like,
Writing things
writing
down
on
is a
paper
good
is
task.
barbaric, but carving rock isn't barbaric. Like, what are you talking?
Writing things
Uh,
down is great, bro. I'm on these calls all day and I take AI notes, right? Let the AI figure out what everybody's saying. But you know what I do that whole entire time? I write on a piece of paper with ink and pen, right? And I take my own notes. I broadcast the AI notes to everybody else. But you know what I reference back all the time is my handwritten notes.
Let me tell you what had to happen for you to get that paper. There's some lumberjack had to go out in the woods somewhere, right, with a giant chainsaw and axes, this Paul
Yep.
Bunyan shit. They had to chop that tree down. Heavy machineries involved in this process. They had to drag it out of there, chop it up, send it to other places, and ship it all over the place. So you could just be writing stuff down on paper, bro. So somebody could have died getting you that paper. You ever seen Final Destination?
So let me tell you what has to take place in order for this AI function to take the notes for me. They're going to have to cut down a lot of land, to put a lot of servers, to put a lot of solar panels, and cut out huge swaths of land that could be benefiting human beings, right? Maybe growing them some food. But instead, we're building huge data centers to be able to take the notes for us.
Bro, just write that shit on a tablet, bro. Just write it on a tablet. What do you mean? We don't. What do you need AI for? Just write it down, just not on paper.
Yeah, either way. What does it take to get the minerals that go into comprising the battery that's in my tablet?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm
What
just
about the
against
plastic?
paper.
What about the plastic and the glass and the